Hello everyone, what is going on in YouTube and all across the internet? This is the Wrestling Collective. That is right, we can actually say it in this episode because we know what we're talking about, and that is all things wrestling. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your co-host, Matthew Thomas, and I got a great friend joining me, making up the second half of this dynamic tag team. He is Joseph Carrasco, and this is the Wrestling Collective.
What's up, everyone? How you doing, Matt?
Doing great. Was that a good intro? I think it was a fantastic intro. Even phenomenal, if I would say.
See, okay, I didn't even realize what shirt you're wearing, but we're gonna be I kind of think I know where we're gonna go with the predictions on that one today. But I should have went like this instead, huh?
You should have.
But yeah, man, great intro. I'm excited to be back with you again discussing wrestling. Today we have some interesting stuff to talk about. We're going to be covering the Money in the Bank that recently happened. Well, not recently, but a few weeks ago. But we're going to be covering that and talking about some Money in the Bank matches and kind of giving our opinions on the matches. Off the top, I'm just going to say, I think me and Matt both agree it was a little lackluster, but overall, it had some highlights, and we're going to discuss that here in the show. And then later, we are going to be covering... let me look at my notes here. It looks like we're going to be covering 4 topics, 2 from Matt and 2 from me. And we'll be getting to that later in the show. And then finally, we will be closing out the show with Night of Champions predictions. So with that being said, Matt, do you have anything you want to discuss before we go into today's show?
Well, before we do, just a few things. If you do like the Wrestling Collective, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, turn on the notification bell for all the great content we have. But also, if you have any predictions or if you have any thoughts on Money in the Bank or predictions for Night of Champions, let us know in the comments. If you have any stances on the topics we're going to discuss, please let us know. Please comment down below. We love to have an open dialogue and engage with our viewers because the Wrestling Collective, it's about all of us. It's not just about me and Joseph. It is about everyone, the whole wrestling community. I want to hear your thoughts, your opinions about the topics we cover, the latest pay-per-views, all of that.
All right, man. Well, with that being said, let's get into Money in the Bank 2025. Now, going into this pay-per-view, I was somewhat excited. Not really. What I was really excited about was what the pay-per-view was, and that's Money in the Bank. I really am enjoying, now that I've recently started watching wrestling. Like I said, in the first episode, I'm an Attitude Era guy. I've been watching the new wrestling for about a year and a half now. And what I've really started to enjoy is the female division. I think this female division is stacked. It is way more entertaining than it was back in the day. I think the female wrestlers have come a long way. And with that being said, we are going to start the show with the first match that took place at Money in the Bank, and that is the women's division in Money in the Bank. Now, before we get into it, I just want to say I am disappointed that they opened the show with this match. Again, the pay-per-view is Money in the Bank. I feel like the Money in the Bank matches should be later in the show, not opening. I was a little annoyed because I even saw pictures on social media about how there was nobody in the audience. There was nobody in the audience for this match in particular, but you have to take into account where this is, California. And I don't know of people who haven't been to California, but the people that live in California can vouch for me. Traffic there sucks. So if you're trying to get to an event, I live in San Antonio, Texas, and an event in general, traffic sucks. Trying to get an Uber outside of an event, trying to drive into the event sucks. And then just add normal California traffic on top of that. I think, it didn't mix well. I feel like that match really got slept on when it shouldn't have. You had Stephanie making her debut in a pay-per-view here on WWE. I mean, this was her second match of the day. So I was pulling for her. I was super excited. That was actually my pick for that match, but I knew that it wasn't going to be her. And that's just me looking at it. If you want to dive into my brain a little bit, looking at it from a writer standpoint, if I was to write the show, she's new to the main roster. So, of course, I'm not going to give her Money in the Bank right away. There are other people that I feel deserve it. I was looking at Roxanne, but even then, which I'll cover later in the show, I really feel like Roxanne should get an IC title run. Even though she was in Money in the Bank, I was kind of like, I don't really see her winning it either. The person who I thought was going to win was Naomi, which she ultimately did win. It just made sense. If you're looking at who's in the ring, you have 3 wrestlers who I feel should have been in the Money in the Bank, and then you have 3 wrestlers who I feel that 2 wrestlers that I feel like shouldn't have: Alexa Bliss and Rhea Ripley. And I'm curious to hear your opinion on this too. I don't think Rhea Ripley or Alexa Bliss should have been in that match, and that's just purely because Rhea Ripley I think is on another level, and Alexa Bliss, I mean, I guess because she just came back, that's why they gave her that. But I don't feel like she should get a title shot right away. And then especially not in Money in the Bank. I feel Money in the Bank is meant for the wrestlers who are coming up, who are trying to get that push. And then the ones that don't win that one, you pull, like I said, Roxanne did great in Money in the Bank. I think she was one of the highlights of that match in particular. But you have her lose, but then you give her an IC run. That way you get Naomi, who everybody wanted to win in general, the Money in the Bank. So she gets the opportunity. And then you are also giving Roxanne, who I believe deserves it, an IC run. And like I said, I'll get a little more into that as we get later into the show, of how I think that would have played really well, especially with the whole Liv Morgan thing and Judgment Day and all that stuff. But yeah, overall, I think the match was really, really good. I think they used the ladders to their full potential. This was the first time that I was excited to see women and ladders, and I think that they really outdid themselves with the type of stuff that they did, like burying Rhea Ripley and a pile of ladders, and the finishing moves on the ladders as they're like stacked across each other, and all that type of stuff really got me going. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I feel like another reason why Stephanie wasn't a potential winner was, if you listen to the commentary, they were really trying to paint Julia and Stephanie as a potential, like having potential beef. So again, I feel like Naomi's story is the only one that really made sense and for victory. With Roxanne, you can do other things with Julia and Stephanie. You pit them up against each other, build a story. So Stephanie's so new in the main roster, it just makes sense to let's build a story with her first before we put a belt around her waist. And then, of course, like I said, Rhea, Alexis, I feel like they were just the powerhouses bringing in to try to bring attention to the match, but I don't feel like it was needed. Roxanne and Stephanie and Naomi, Julia, I feel like they all themselves can kind of hold their own. And I'm, like I said, I consider myself a new WWE fan. I feel like those girls handled themselves really well in the ring. Wasn't mad about the Naomi win. I kind of knew it was coming, and so I'm interested in seeing where this Money in the Bank run takes her, and what kind of choices and decisions she makes. But enough about me rambling about that. What do you think, Matt?
Overall, I think it was a very enjoyable match. I think it was obviously the ladder matches really stuck out on this pay-per-view. I think they're obviously the matches of the night between both of them. So what I will say, so you're talking about like the people in the match and all of that. So with that, I mean, I'm a huge Alexa Bliss fan. I am, very much enjoyed her work, but then like obviously between getting hurt, getting married, having a kid, she has not, like, I don't think she's really wrestled a full year in I don't know how long. And I don't remember the last time she was champ. I want to say 2018, we'll say. So it's been a long time. And she also has won Money in the Bank before. So I think her inclusion, it makes sort of some sense. I can see where you're coming from with just like having names in there to draw attention. But yeah, with Rhea, I mean, she doesn't have to fight for a belt to have great matches and have great storylines. So yes, she did. At least I can agree with you that she definitely felt out of place. Not like she had a great match, like she was a great part of the match. But yes, why she was there didn't really necessarily fit the character or storyline at this time of why she would be fighting for it. Even though I get she's a former champ and she recently like lost it, earlier this year. So like I get it. But I mean, I wish also, I think, and I don't know if I think this is correct or I could be misremembering, but I think they only did like 5 or 6 when they first started the Money in the Bank, and now I don't know how many they have in the match now. I
They
wish
had
it was.
6. There were 6 girls.
Oh, there's 6. Okay, okay, good.
And it's funny because the way they started it, they had this kind of like, It made me almost kind of wonder if they put Rhea and Alexa in there for that reason. But you had kind of like the newbies from NXT, like stand off against the so-called veterans, I guess you would say. And Naomi was in that pack. So you had Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss, Naomi standing against Julia, Stephanie, and Roxanne, and they had like this little face-off right before the match started. So yeah.
Yeah, and I guess, that kinda evens it out. I guess it kinda makes some sense, even though, like, I think they have such a robust roster that there's so many women I think could be in that match, and they would still do great with it. Like, I've been watching some of the women in NXT, and they are, like, really amazing. They got a great, kinda up and coming generation of women's wrestlers. I'm excited when they finally make the jump to Raw. I think it'll be great. But yes, I think for that, yeah, I understand why Naomi won. I'm curious to see how they're gonna go with that and who she's gonna face, because I don't really. I think she's on. Is she on SmackDown right now, or is it Raw?
I believe so. Yeah, she
Okay,
does.
that's what I thought. So, I mean, I would assume she would go to the champ on SmackDown, but also, like, I can see her kind of making the jump to Raw and have her face. I think it's Io, right, on Raw, or is
Mhm.
that SmackDown? Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, Io's on Raw.
So I'm trying to keep up with all. Like, I am like trying to, like, okay, this, like, I'm making like the board where they have like in like Always Sunny, where they always have like all the different like pin boards and all that. So trying to keep up with that all that. But I think I can see her facing either champion and having a good match. But it'd just be like when the timing is interesting, because I say, and I don't know how you familiar are with Money in the Bank for the last couple of years, but it seems like sometimes they just don't have an idea for the champion. You know, like you have Austin Theory winning the U.S. belt because he cashed in for Money in the Bank a few years ago. You have like Otis, who never really won it and lost it to the Miz. So like it always feels like the last couple of years that they don't have a fully baked plan for some of these like Money in the Bank winners.
It's hard to tell, like from what I've been seeing, it looks like they're really pushing for long storytelling. So with this Naomi push, for me, I guess like who's currently champion. It Now that I think about it, it's like who does she really pick? I mean, she's in the middle of a beef with Bianca and Jade, but at the same time, Jade is in the Queen of the Ring finals. So, I mean, there could be some type of correlation there. So it's kind of one of those things where I just kind of wait every show. I'm just kind of they give us a little nugget here and there. I feel like that they really are trying to build stories around everyone, which may seem a little chaotic at times. So it's kind of those things that's like I just kind of wait it out and see how it progresses. Naomi just felt like the natural pick based off of the way she's been going with her character, the hill switch. She's been dominating on the microphone. And then of course she really, even though she's a heel, that fan fare is there. Like fans are pushing for her. And there's something I'm gonna bring up later in the show as well about the fans. Like I really feel like WWE is trying their best to pay attention to what fans want. Hopefully that doesn't come and bite them in the ass, because sometimes we don't know what we want and we think we want something and we get it and we're like, well, that's not what we wanted. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm just kind of waiting out to see how stories pan out, because I've learned in the short time that I've been starting to watch wrestling again, patience is kind of a virtue, and in the way the stories unfold.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how things progress with this. And I know Naomi has been a champ before, so I think, and it, but again a while ago. Again, I want to say was it 2019? I want to say, give or take, something like that. So it's been a while. So I think her as champ, I think she could definitely do it. I like her as a heel better than a face. I think she is more
Mhm.
like because like the face, she was just like, oh, this is glow, and this is like, which again, not hating, but it was kind of one dimensional. And I think with
Yep.
heel Naomi, that she has more to work with, or at least that she can lean into it more, I think.
Hmm. I completely agree. I wasn't, if I'm being honest, I wasn't a huge Naomi fan when I first started watching wrestling. When she did that heel turn and hearing her discuss the way she does, yeah, I'm totally into it.
But yeah, I think we kind of wrapped up that match. So I'm curious. So what was the next following match?
So the next one we have is Dom versus Octagon Jr. Now, my feelings with this match is I feel like it was a filler match. This match happened because of the event at Worlds Collide. And so I feel like this match was, and the reason why I think it was a filler was they wanted to help. They just recently acquired AAA. You had Worlds Collide on the exact same day as Money in the Bank. So I feel like what they did was they said, hey, how can we cross promote? And so you have Dom and Liv showing up at Worlds Collide during Octagon Junior's match. I can't remember. I think he was like in a tag match or a triple tag, something like that. I'd watched Worlds Collide when it aired, but I didn't rewatch it, so I don't remember. But I know he was in a match, and Dom was in the crowd, and he got into it with the luchadors. And so I think it was a way of kind of bridging, hey, this is the other company that we have. This is the other pay-per-view. Go check out Worlds Collide if you want to see what happened and how this match became a thing. So I do feel like it was a filler match. I feel like it was also set to give Dom an easy W, because you're not going to have somebody from AAA come over with most WWE fans not knowing who the fuck this guy is, coming in and taking a belt from Dominic. That's not going to happen. Dominic's super over with the fans, even though he is a heel. I think he's one of the best heels, dare I say, of all time. I think if you don't think he is right now, he's definitely going to get there eventually. But just the crowd response that this dude gets, mind blowing, and I just didn't see him losing that match. But it was spectacular. People got to kind of see what, I mean, you see it with Penta and Rey Fenix and Rey Mysterio, but you got to see another luchador that most people didn't know come in and kind of showcase his skills. And then you got to see Dom. Dom's grown a lot. I mean, even in the short time that I've been watching wrestling, Dom has gotten better in the ring. He's always kind of had the mic ability, that cockiness about him. I've always loved to hate, but his in-ring ability, seeing him wrestle other luchadors, has been fun to watch, fun to see him grow. And I went in knowing Dom was already going to win. It was a short, sweet match, nothing too crazy, but they were able to make each other look really good. I will note before I pass the mic over to you, though, one of the funniest things about that match, if you go back and watch that match, when Octagon Junior comes out, right when he gets to the end of the crowd, right before he walks into the ring, he goes to give somebody a high five, and I'm guessing it's because of the luchador mask itself. His peripherals were off, but the dude wasn't reaching for a high five. He had a cup in his hand, and Octagon was like, "Hey, oh hey,
Yeah.
you want a high five? I'll give you one." And the dude was holding it. That shit made me laugh. I had to watch that a few times, but that for me was it was kind of a highlight for me in that match. I don't know why it made me laugh so hard, but yeah. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think you summed it up really well, but I will say, to go along with that, though, I mean, I think people kind of forget, or at least they don't like make the association, even though his last name is Mysterio, is that Dominic Mysterio is Mysterio, and he can go like the Lucha Libre style. He can do that really well. Now, obviously in WWE, he does like the more American, I would say, street fighting more. Like when he was tag teaming with his dad, they did the high flying Lucha Libre stuff. But now in the Judgment Day, I think he kind of toned that back to work more as a heel, more punching, kicking, running away, that kind of thing. But like, yeah, I think he can definitely go in the ring. And obviously, I don't know how old he is, but he's got a very long, lengthy career ahead of him, and he is getting smoother in the ring. And I think like obviously when you were saying like his mic skills were up here, he's fantastic on the mic, and his wrestling, I'm not saying he was bad, but they were not on the same level as mic skills. And now as I watch him like more and more lately, I think they're about equal with where he is. He can talk, he can wrestle, and he has that thing about him that I don't think many true heels have, is just that the whole crowd boos him repeatedly, mercilessly. And you don't always see that with heels. There's like people who turn heel and then the crowd just doesn't care. Like
Mm-hmm.
with him, like the crowd they intensely hate him. And that's what a heel is. And it's so cool to see, because you don't get that kind of hatred so often, I think, in wrestling nowadays. So when someone truly does it, it is a sight to see.
Yeah, I think he just knows, and this could just also come from him growing up in the business, him really understanding the business. He knows how to feed into it and play it off so well. And also, when we're discussing the in ring ability, I feel like he's just, the reason why he's getting better is he's also finding his stride. Yes, he has a luchador background, but me and my wife make fun of him all the time as far as like he's a very lanky individual. He's all arms and legs, and he's got a really long torso. So some of those moves aren't as achievable as what his dad can pull off because his dad's a lot smaller. So I think that he kind of found that happy medium of, hey, I can do the high flying stuff, but it doesn't have to be everything in my arsenal. I can also still move around and play that heel with the jabs and the the unsavory type moves, the mocking. He's one of those wrestlers that you can tell he goes out there and he has fun while he's doing what he's doing. He leaves his ego at the door. Well, his real ego, I'll say, the person behind Dominic Mysterio. He knows what he's going out there to do a job, and he knows what his job is, and he does it really well. So he knows how to put his actual personal ego behind the door and do what he needs to do for the business. And then he lets that Dominic Mysterio WWE Universe ego fly through the roof and play into the character. And I think he's somebody who truly understands what his character is supposed to be. And one of the reasons why, again, before we move on, I want to point out the reason why I say I think he's going to come off as one of the best heels of all time is because what people fail to realize is that he's a heel. He gets a bunch of heat, yet when he won the IC title, the cheers were fucking insane. The amount of love that he got, and then still the next night he gets fucking booed quiet. Like that to me is just like he has an aura about him that I think most wrestlers wish they had just even a small percentage of that type of control.
Yeah, I think it goes also along with it that he has the respect of like the crowd, even though like they will boo him, but I think they respect that how much hard work he has put into it. So like I cheered when he won the belt because I think he definitely deserves it, and I think the crowd realizes that. But also, he's just some guy that like anytime he talks, you just want to boo him. He just has that thing, that aura, as you talk about. Like I'm serious though.
Yeah, he's a character you love to hate. You love to hate, but you also can appreciate when he succeeds. There's that respect factor there, and again, that's one of those things that people are like, oh, wrestling's fake. It's like, yeah, you don't get it. You clearly don't get it. And Dominic is one of those solidifies why I know. For me, I'll speak for myself. Why I am a wrestling fan. I like they're my I don't know if I said this in the last episode, but they're basically my novellas. Okay, they're my soap operas. That's what wrestling is for me. It's soap operas that has fighting in it.
It's a great way to sum that up because it's kind of, especially with some of the storylines, like I mean, in the past and somewhat recently, that it is definitely just a soap opera that takes place live in front of people with a ring.
Yep, definitely. So now we're gonna move on to the next match, and this match, gotta admit, wasn't excited for it. During the promos on Raw when they were trying to build this match as something. It was a match that I still wasn't excited for, and I feel that there are much better female wrestlers that deserve the chance at this belt, as we mentioned earlier. But that is the Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyria. This is one that I was not excited about. As much as of a Seth Rollins fan as I am, I'm on the opposite end with Becky. I don't get it. And again, I wasn't watching wrestling during her prime, so she's one of those wrestlers that I just maybe that's why I don't get it. I didn't see her when she was loved. So I don't have that same love and affection towards her. The only thing I loved about the promos building up to this match and after this match were the fact that I feel like Lyra definitely upped her mic skills, and I love the kind of temper tantrum Becky. It was entertaining, but the match was lackluster. Now, I say that, but I am a fan of Valkyria. I think she puts on great matches, but I feel about her how I feel about Sami Zayn. I'll try to explain this the best I can. When I hear about Sami Zayn or Valkyria having a match, I'm most of the time not interested until I watch the match. And then they tend to surprise me, and they know how to work in the ring. Those two wrestlers are the main two that I can think of where it's, if I hear that they're going to wrestle, I'm like, eh. And then I watch and I'm like, huh, okay. And maybe it's because I put my expectations so low that when they actually perform, they surprise me. But yeah, I don't think that this was a match that was pay-per-view worthy. I don't think Becky should have won. again, I kind of feel about the IC the way I do Money in the Bank. I feel like Money in the Bank and the IC title belts, whether it's male or now female, those are stepping stones for wrestlers who are getting that push. These are stepping stones for the company to tell the wrestler, hey, look, we have faith in you, we believe in you, we want to see what you can do. We're taking you to that next level. You're leveling up. Let's see where you're at with this. Let's see how you do with the crowd. Let's see how you do with your merch sales and all that stuff. And then if everything is good, then we are going to make you lose that, and we're going to give you an actual title run for the big boy belts. I don't feel like Becky should be in the spotlight with the IC championship. Again, this is another wrestler, much like Alexa Bliss, disappeared for a while. She's had her moments. Coming back, I feel like cool. You want to wrestle still, that's great, but you're kind of like pass the torch, especially with the female division. You have so many, and you said it yourself, there's so many females in this division now. Pass the torch, man. Like, I'd much rather see you as a mentor and that's kind of what she was with Valkyria before this whole beef started. But yeah, like I said, I would have much rather have seen Roxanne not in Money in the Bank and her fighting Valkyria for the belt. I feel like if Roxanne would have won it, I feel like that would have been a great way to have everything that's going on with the Liv Morgan Judgment Day Roxanne thing. I think it would have been another thing, because now she has an IC belt, Liv has the tag belt. They're both gunning for that ultimate world title. I think it would have been great to see that type of story be built. I feel like it was being injured, which I kind of want to talk about that towards the end too. With her being injured, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, man, I feel like it was a missed opportunity, and now it's an even more missed opportunity. I personally, I'll just cover it now. I personally think the Liv Morgan thing is a work, only because it was a dislocated shoulder. That doesn't cause, Rhea Ripley got one and popped it right back in during a fucking match. So I feel like it's a work. I'm trying to be patient. I think something's cooking. I think something's going to come up. I think we're going to see a lot of big things happen with Judgment Day here in the near future. But yeah, that's my take on that match. I feel like, Becky didn't deserve an IC run. And I think Valkyria was doing a great job as IC champ. I think she fit the title very, very well. That's the type of champ that I want to see hold the IC belt. And hopefully with this loss, we get to see her get that push for an actual world title.
So I have kind of some similar sentiments with that. I did like. I think Lyra is a very good worker. I think she is a very good wrestler. She knows the fundamentals and the basics extremely well. She's smooth in the ring. But this whole thing, like, as soon as it happened, it really just took me out of the rivalry, because you had Becky Lynch come back, they win the belts, and then the next night, now they're like fighting. So it's like, well, what's the point? I wish they would have had Becky turn on Lyra at Mania, and then they can set up a feud. They didn't have to win the belts. I think that was so pointless and devalued the belts that they won it just to lose it back. I was kind of, that to me just made no sense. Like, why would you do a title change for the sake of a title change if you're just going to lose it again and fight each other? It just didn't make any sense to me. And that really just took me out of the rivalry, because, like, well, that was just it's too cumbersome. And like, just a swerve for the sake of a swerve. This is not WCW in the 2000s. Like, this is the WWE. I'm just saying.
But you make a great point too, as far as it felt forced. I think that's why a lot
Yep.
of people weren't into it. And one of the main reasons why it felt forced was because they fucked over Bailey, or as I like to call Big Butt Bailey. They screwed her over and, did this whole fake injury bullshit to force feed us this story that, like, it didn't feel organic. There was no long-term storytelling. It was rushed. And then now, I'm kind of glad, because now Bailey's back. I don't know if you knew that,
Yep.
but she showed back up. She shows up. She does her thing. So I'm glad Bailey's back. But I feel like it was a big fuck you to Bailey. Somebody who is a lot like Dom, is a company yes man, basically. And she kind of got screwed on that. So I didn't mean to cut you off there, but yeah, you made a great point. I feel like all of that was rushed, and that's why it just didn't feel good.
Yeah, I think the match itself was fine. I think, it was, they're both good workers, and I think that match showed. Like, I think they're, none of it was like, I wouldn't say it was a bad match by any means, but it just, to me, it just took all the heat out of it. Like, if you were to do that, I think it would have been more memorable for, for that to occur and not win the belt. Like, have it at Mania, have them not win the belt, then they can fight each other. They got more reason to fight each other. Because again, if you really look at it like in a meta stance, like, you're gonna call it Becky, she's like, oh yeah, I'll be your partner at Mania, and then like the next night, after you guys win it and celebrate, she's like, actually, I don't like you, screw you. It just, if you think about it, like, okay, that would be like me calling you up for something. We hang out, and then like next night we get into a bar fight. Like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't make any sense. And again,
It's a lazy heel turn. That's all it
yeah,
was.
and we already saw that with like Becky and Bianca a few years ago, where she came back, turned heel, and won a belt in like whatever 90 seconds or whatever it was. So we already saw that. So why do it again? You're just repeating the same thing. You took a page out of the book and you read it again. It just, to me,
And
just killed it.
Becky's literally doing a female John Cena right now when it comes to her promos in this feud. Uh, it's just, yeah. I hope they don't push this too long. It's definitely a story that when it comes on, I'm not fully invested, and it's basically my bathroom break.
I think with that too, it's I think they could have had a very compelling storyline. I think they would have been cool. Plus, like, they got the whole like Irish thing going on too. So like, I get that, but yeah, they just did it in the wrong way, where it just kind of just killed it. And to me, honestly, I don't think it's doing Lyra really any favors. I think she was a great champ, and she should have continued to be champ.
I agree. I 100% agree. Yeah, I feel like two people really did get screwed over in all this mess, and that's Bailey and Vicaria. But uh I mean, we'll
Yeah.
see. Like I said, patience is a virtue. We'll see where
Yeah,
the story
I mean,
goes. But
Becky,
I don't.
I not Becky, Bailey. I think she should be champ at some point, and I hope they're leaning towards that and going to set that up hopefully in the near future. She deserves a belt again. It's been too long. She's a great champ, great character. I want
Mhm.
her as champ.
Yeah, again, I just feel like it does the again, my mindset on what the IC belt stands for. I feel like it's muddying the waters if you have Becky and Bailey fighting for that belt when you have so much other new talent that could be getting that push and moving on to bigger, better things. But again, you have, I mean, who you currently have as the world champions. You have other stories developing there, so I get it. And then again, I don't want it to get flooded with a bunch of different belts. But yeah, I'm curious to see where it's going to go. And I do agree. I think Bailey does need a belt on her again. And again, I think that could potentially create a back and forth with her and Valkyria too. So if she's going after the belt that Valkyria just lost, so you're going to have this weird kind of hate triangle that's going to start happening. And I'm interested to see where it goes. I don't have high hopes for it, but again, I think that's purely based on me just not being a huge Becky fan. Now I will say I like Becky as a person. I've seen her in interviews. I've seen her with Seth and them doing like weird YouTube videos, and I think she's goofy. I really like her, but as far as Becky Lynch, the man character, I'm not really into it. So our next one is going to be the men's Money in the Bank. Now this one was fucking stacked. Now again, I will say I feel about this kind of the same way that I feel about the women's, in the sense that I don't really feel like Seth Rollins and LA Knight really were the best options for Money in the Bank. Now, don't get me wrong, I love this match. I love Seth Rollins. I really like LA Knight. But again, if we're going based off of my sentiments in the earlier part of this episode, I feel like this was an opportunity to have wrestlers who aren't quite there yet in superstardom. And this is where you build those superstars, a lot like I feel with the IC title. So, with that being said, I was really excited to see Andrade in this match. I feel like he's a wrestler that's slept on. I'm a huge Andrade fan. I love that Pinta was in this match. I feel like these are the wrestlers that should have been in Money in the Bank. And like later in the match, you have Braun and Bronson, you have Fatu, you have what's his name, Jacob. They all show up and we get like those are the guys that should have been in Money in the Bank. That shit was fire, and those are the wrestlers that I'm looking for to fight for Money in the Bank to then get that push for the title. Those are the guys that should have been in it. Again, I understand why this makes more sense why Seth would be in it over the whole Rhea situation. Seth cut promos and has built up to why he's in Money in the Bank, what his actual goals are for the future of not only him holding a belt, but for the WWE as a whole. So him winning makes sense. I know a lot of people don't like that he won. I personally, even as a Seth Rollins fan, I don't think he should have won. I don't think he should have been in the match. But again, it makes sense because they took the time to build a story around it. Some of my notes that I have here to point out, I love Solo in this match. I think Solo did an amazing job in this match. And I'm not talking about the wrestling side of Solo. I'm talking about this dude went in there and looked like he was having the time of his life. The mocking, him doing the pinto walk, him doing all this goofy shit just made the match enjoyable. And it made me realize one of the main reasons why I like watching wrestling is characters like that. I hope Solo goes into this type of character arc on a more regular basis. This is a Solo that I would love to cheer for. You know, when Fatu, this is also the same night that Fatu turned on Solo. When he's going up on the ladder, he's being real cocky. He's laughing. He's going up. Fatu grabs that leg and says, "I hate you, Solo." Before Solo realizes who's holding his leg, the whole look around and like, what the, and trying to pull up. That whole goofy side of Solo, I totally loved. And I want to see more of that. That really showcased some range in who Solo Sikoa is. And again, I think this was a solid group. I think the match went really well. And again, I got super hyped when the Bronze came out, when Solo's a little bloodline came out, and they had this back and forth. It really added something to Money in the Bank. It made it more than just, oh, it's a Money in the Bank ladder match. It added that friction. And then again, we're going to talk about Seth Rollins' faction later in the show, and I'm going to kind of put that in there. But I feel like there was another missed opportunity. If I kind of foreshadow a little bit with Jacob Fatu. So remind me later if I forget to cover that. There's a little bit of Jacob Fatu that I want to talk about. Some of the highlights of this show, of this particular match for me, I feel like this was one of the top matches. I feel like both Money in the Bank matches were the top matches for me that night. And this one, Andrade took a crazy nut shot from a ladder, which I was a little disappointed because I feel like that kind of hindered his ability to perform the rest of that match. He was down for a good 10-15 minutes, and then he kind of popped up towards the end, which sucks because I feel like he's an underdog and he didn't really get to showcase what he can do. And, he got an opportunity to be on a bigger stage, and it's unfortunate he took a nut shot. I hope he didn't lose a nut. And then both of my highlights actually have Grande Americano in it because he's the one that nut shotted Andrade by accident. But also Mr. Americano took a nasty bronze spear. But that spear was almost like a flashback to when Carlito took the crazy spear. I think Braun Breaker, a lot of people will debate that, but I think Braun Breaker, side note, has one of the best spears in the game. It looks like it hurts, and his over rotation just makes it look unique. Another highlight for me is I just want to point out one of my favorite things about Bronson Reed is his tsunami. And the reason why I like his little tsunami is the little arm thing. He does this little, when he jumps. That was just something I started laughing when I was rewatching it for this episode. But yeah, and then the last thing I'll touch on about this match, and I'm touching on it just because if you want to see a full rant on this, go check out our first episode if you haven't yet. But that is something that we both also talked about in private outside this show. But they had a fireball ladder. They have Slim Jim tables. They're putting logos on they're selling the turnbuckles. That is something that also got, as soon as I saw the fireball ladder pop out, I laughed really fucking loud, and my family didn't understand why. And I was like, it's a fucking fireball ladder. Like, what the... Anyway, like I said, if you want to see my rant on WWE greed and how I feel about that, go check out episode 1. Other than that, I'm going to shut up now and pass the mic over to Matthew Thomas.
Well, I do agree with a lot of what you said in this match. You kind of gave like the big highlights for it. So I will kind of just do what I do best, and that's a cleanup position. So I will say the fireball ladder is hilarious, mostly just because in my thing with it, when I look at advertisement, is if I see this product on this item, does that make me associate this product with this item? And to me, like, I'm not gonna go out and buy a Slim Jim because I saw it on a WWE table. You know, like it's I mean, it's just ad placement anywhere. I think they even have it on the announcers table. I think there's an ad placement on there as well. I'm not sure. I don't know if they do it all the time, but it's basically just anything that they can sell for sponsorship. They are. And
Mm-hmm.
again, I get we talked about it with that. And again, if anyone wants the full details, link in the description if they want to check it out. But it's very ridiculous when it comes to that. But the wrestling itself, again, I think yes, the women's match and the men's match, these ladder matches, I think were great. I think with this, again, I know a lot of people did not want Seth to win. Even like some of my personal friends who I was talking wrestling with did not want Seth to win. But I think like if you look at everybody in the match, and Seth Rollins is in this match, you got him, Andrade, El Grande Americano, LA Knight, Penta, and Solo Sikoa. So you have all of them. And honestly, if I were to if you place these on a board, who do you think should win? I would go Seth. He has the storyline. He has the guys behind him. And I think with that, like they seem to be doing like with some of these, like either they have a plan for Money in the Bank and it's kind of a clear cut plan, kind of going into it who's going to win, or they go someone random and they don't have a plan and then they lose it or whatever. So I think with this, obviously, will Seth win it? I'm sure he will. I'm sure he's going to get a championship run at some point. But he's also been saying that, as you pointed out, since he kind of started this whole whatever you want to call it, faction cult thingy. I don't know. I don't have a great word for it, but you know what I'm talking about. So now that he started this, it makes sense that he has won the Money in the Bank. He's planning on being champion. He's working towards being champion. He said he's going to be champion. So it all makes sense in the long run. Could you have somebody else? Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
for the long run, I think it makes sense to have Seth win it. Again, would I like LA Knight to win? Yeah, but I think Penta should be a champ at some point. Maybe obviously I think he should be a US or IC at some point. And Andrade I think is very much overlooked. He's a great workhorse. I don't know if he'll ever get his time as a champ, unfortunately, but I think he's a great workhorse. And Solo Sikoa, I'm not a huge fan of Solo, but that's kind of like this whole post bloodline era of WWE is very interesting because you have these people, you have the Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, you have all these guys who they were main eventing matches, pay-per-views and all this stuff, and now it seems like all that is disbanded and they're kind of figuring out, they're putting the pieces back together of where what is Roman Reigns going to do. He's been champ for 5 years, and what is he going to do, because he can't keep losing because he's been champ for 5 years. So you have to be good at what you're doing to be champ for 5 years.
Yep.
So how do you build back up to that? So I think that's what they're trying to figure out with Solo and Roman and the whole bloodline former members. What do you do with them? And I think until they figure that out, I think Seth Rollins winning the Money in the Bank was the perfect decision, in my opinion. But let us know. Please let us know. If you wanted Seth to win or if you didn't want Seth to win, let us know.
And I'm going to try not to go into I think Rock fucked up a lot of that, but to touch one last thing.
Watch your previous episode.
Yeah, right. I do want to also, I made a little note here when you mentioned you made a really good point about ads and the products that they put them on. I think it is pretty dumb to put alcohol on a ladder. We shouldn't be mixing the two. So
very good point. But yeah, but it's just it's when they do I think they did for War Games. I think the women's War Games was sponsored by a chip company, and I forget the brand, but it just doesn't make me want to buy chips watching a female War Games. It just doesn't make me want to buy chips. I'm just saying that's not what I'm here for. And again, associating with Io Sky jumping off with a trash can doesn't make me want to buy fucking chips.
Well, it's almost like I was waiting for when I saw the Slim Jim tables that they're now using. I almost was waiting for when they broke the table for over the speakers. You hear Macho Man going, "Snap it to it, Slim Jim!" Every time they break a table. It's just it's getting ridiculous at this point. But Yeah, like I said, if you guys want to see the rant on that, go check out the first episode. We're gonna continue with Money in the Bank, and yeah, like we're gonna come back to the Bloodline a little bit in a little bit with one of my topics because, like I said, Fatu. I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with him. He's one of my favorite wrestlers right now. I really like how he's developing so far, so I'm excited to see that. But now let's get into another match that I wasn't excited for, and that is Jay and Cody versus Cena and Mr. Logan Paul. Again, didn't really care for this match. I will say though, and this may be a hot take, but and I'm also gonna say I hate Logan Paul, but love him or hate him, you got to give this dude credit in his in-ring ability. He's just a great athletic specimen. His at the end of the match, his little fucking backflip moonsault into the table was, and again, he's not doing anything new. I want to put that out there. And I think that's one of the reasons why this is kind of a hot take is people are like, he's not innovating anything. And I don't think he's, well, I won't say I don't think he's trying to, I think in his mind, he thinks he is. But I don't want to look past the fact that he does have athletic abilities. The dude can perform. Now, do I think he's going to be the next big great thing? No, but I do still respect the fact that he gets in that ring and he makes sure that he puts on a show. Highlights for me were, well, really the only other thing I got to say about this match really is my highlight for me, and this is what I said earlier. I love that wrestling, WWE in particular, is listening to their fan base and trying to please us the best they can because they understand we are the actual money in the bank. We are what fund them and keep their lights on. So the fact that R-Truth came back, and I love it. I don't like that they're trying to say it was a work. I don't believe it was a work. I really do feel like Twitter really put a foot in their ass and got R-Truth back. And I'm excited to see where R-Truth is going. After this pay-per-view, this motherfucker cut one of the craziest promos I've ever seen. The whole climbing on the table and cutting his hair and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm really, really excited for R-Truth, and he's making John Cena's life a living hell right now, which I love. And I'm gonna make a prediction here and now is a lot of people want R-Truth to get that title from John Cena. And although it doesn't really make sense to pass the belt over to somebody that is the age of R-Truth, I think with all the backlash that they got, I can confidently say that I feel like no one's going to be able to take that belt from John Cena until the very end, and it's going to be R-Truth.
So I think so. Yeah, the match itself, fine tag team match. I don't think they were not breaking wrestling with the tag team match. I think it was fine. I think it was good. I do think, like, yes, Logan Paul, is he not innovative? No, he's not doing anything different. He's not breaking wrestling, but he is smooth with what he does. I think he's very athletic. I'm a fan of his wrestling, his character, his outside persona of the ring. No, he's been sued multiple times for a lot of different things. You can kind of tell the person he is, but I'm a fan of his wrestling. I think he's really good. And I think what he does is, like, to me, you don't have to do something innovative if you do it smooth. If you're a smooth operator, I respect that. And, like, it shows that you're working hard. That's where I pick up on things. Because sometimes if you're too innovative, it just looks weird and you're trying to do stuff that's not natural. With him, he knows what he can do. He does it well. And honestly, that's hard. It's hard to ask for more out of that. Now, with R-Truth returning, I absolutely love it. And again, WWE could say, him being released was, part of the plan or whatever. I don't think so, because why was Carlito released on the same day? I'm a huge fan of Carlito. I don't know why. I wish they would have kept him around. Him in the
Judgment Day. Yes, he was in the
fantastic.
Judgment Day.
He's honestly, out of someone who, like, I mean, obviously he's never going to be world champ, but, like, out of people, like, of that kind of, caliber or level where there is a glass ceiling, he is one of my favorites. The facial expressions, his in-ring work, like, he is really good.
He made the mid-Carter position work for him. Like, he knows how to be a good mid-Carter. So many mid-Carters want to just bust through that glass ceiling. He was comfortable there, and he did his job. Like, he did well.
Exactly. Sorry. And so, no, I think they meant to release R-Truth as in he was going to be released, not, do the storyline. But obviously, a lot of people support him. I'm obviously, we're both kind of on the same way with that. I think R-Truth is phenomenal. I think he is great at what he does. He knows his limitations. He knows what he can do, and he does it honestly really well. So, I
Mhm.
mean, yes, does it, like, out of people who should beat John Cena for the belt, nobody makes any sense right now, in the next couple months, because should he lose it back to Cody? No, I don't think so. I don't think that would really make any sense personally. R-Truth is like the only one. And again, I don't know how long, R-Truth, like, obviously he did come back, which means he's under contract again. Now, well, how long is this? Is it a short term, thing? Like sometimes when they do bring people back, they have like a tendency to last a couple months and go, okay, we brought him back. Now he's gone. Now bye. Everyone, you're happy, so we're gonna send this person away. They have a tendency to do that. So this is not a
Mhm.
long term thing. I assume by the end of the year, R-Truth will probably be gone for good. I don't think he's gonna be sticking around any longer. By WWE's wishes, not by his own, I think. Um, so it'll be interesting to see who beats John Cena. And I mean, there is also the option, and I would love it, but I don't think they're gonna do it. Is have John Cena walk away with the belt. I think that would just be like the ultimate like middle fingers to like people, especially people who don't like John Cena. I think it would be great. Will they do that? I don't think so, because that would just
The only
alienate
way
the
I see
whole audience.
The only way I see that happening is, and it's funny because me and the wife talked about this. The only way I see that happening is that they want to, because they've already unveiled new belts for like the tag team and stuff like that. They may want to redesign the belt. So that's the only, in my mind, that makes sense of why they're like, hey, let's just let him take the belt. We're going to redesign one anyway, which makes his entire title run pointless. But again, that's kind of what he wants anyway. So yeah, I've flirted with that idea as well of like, well, if he does achieve this, it is kind of like a Infinity War style. Fuck you. We don't care about your feelings here. But yeah, it would be, I'm interested to see. And but like we said, Ron Killings is the only one that makes sense right now. And
And like the only person who really had Cena's, like, if you did watch the Money in the Bank, like, I mean, I know Cody interfered with the match, but also like he was holding his own against John Cena.
mhm.
So
Yep. And I think that's I just feel my gut that that's where we're going to go until something changes. And again, well, we can cover this a little bit more too once we get to Night of Champions, because there is John Cena is going up
yep,
against CM Punk, so we'll have our predictions there. But one more thing that I wanted to mention that I noticed when you were talking about Logan Paul. So earlier we were talking about Dom, right? We were talking about how Dom knows how to embrace the hate. He knows how to. It feels natural. He knows how to make it feel organic. On the other side of that coin, we have Logan Paul. Logan Paul, people hate Logan Paul, and it's not character driven. If that makes sense. Like,
it's not really wrestling related.
yes, yeah, people just don't like him, and the way he feeds off of it, it doesn't feel like a work. Even down to his song, like I can't stand the "I'm So Humble" song, and like everything just feels like he's being extra because he wants to get that heat. He's like trying to be extra, whereas Dom, it just feels more natural. It just
I I,
so
I
like
agree.
so yeah. There's that when you mentioned Paul, like that was like I thought about like I wrote it down real quick. I was like, there's that correlation for anybody who's confused. We love to hate Dom because that is our job as fans in the universe of WWE. Is as his character, we're supposed to hate him, but we still love him. We secretly love him. Whereas Logan Paul, we just fucking hate Logan Paul.
No, I think again what I talked about earlier with like the fans respect Dom for what he has done and who he is, and so like they hate him, but they also respect him. And with Logan Paul, people don't respect him, and I think again his all of his stuff outside of like people probably don't watch WWE, they know about him. He's been in the news for a lot of stuff, and he just and again, I don't know if that's like truly his, actual personality or character. I mean, it could be because he's pretty consistent across all of his platforms with everything he does. I just think he just comes
Mhm.
off as just kind of disingenuous and kind of just like he knows he's better than people. And I think that's kind of the problem people have with that. And again, he's not in character, just anything he does, he kind of
Yeah.
just comes off like that.
Let's just say he's never gonna get a "you deserve this" while also being simultaneously hated for being a heel like Dom does. So, but
I
with
agree.
that being said, we are at the halfway point now. We covered Money in the Bank. Like I said, overall, it was a lackluster event, but there were some highlights there. And let us know down in the comments, what do you think of the show? Did you enjoy it? Do you agree with our opinions here on each match? And let us know, as we are going to be giving predictions for the next pay-per-view. But before we do that,
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, as always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Who the fuck is Matthew Thomas?
going into this next hour, we are going to be covering some topics. And as such, as we covered in the first episode, the way we're going to run this is Matt picks 2 topics, I pick 2 topics, and we discuss. And we put it out there for you guys, and we want to hear your opinions on this too, because we're not having this discussion saying I'm right or Matthew Thomas is right. We're just sharing opinions, and we want to hear from the wrestling community. So with that being said, the first topic we are going to cover is a topic that Matthew Thomas brought up, and I am very, very curious to hear about this because I know he's very passionate about this particular topic, and I am too. I have my own opinions, and I think we're going to have a great discussion on this, and that is the women's attire in wrestling. So without further ado, Matthew?
All right, so well, first I'll get a little pretext for it. Like, I'm not telling people what to wear. I'm just talking about what I observe as a wrestling fan. Now, with this, so this stemmed. I was at the doctor's a few weeks ago, like about the time I texted you about this, and she watches wrestling. I watch wrestling, so we were talking about it, and it was interesting because she brought up like she's like, I don't like what the women wear. I think it's very revealing. And personally, I'm not a fan of like they're good wrestlers, but I'm just not a fan of what they wear. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. Like, because I've kind of noticed that like as well. I think for me personally, I mean, I've noticed it more and more. It kind of started in like AEW and NXT, and I kind of see it on the main roster in like Raw and SmackDown. Is that they're especially like with their shorts and stuff. I think there is a lot of skin revealing, and again, I think it fits for some characters, but I feel like a lot more women are doing that. And again, if it's cool, if that's what you want to wear, cool. But also at the same time, like as for me as a viewer, like if everyone's kind of dressing the same, then it's kind of I don't know. I think it kind of I don't know turns me off a little bit just because everyone's kind of doing the same thing and they're all kind of highlighting the same kind of aspects of their body. So with that, like again, if it fits your character and it's what you want to wear, I'm okay with. But also at the same time, like shouldn't feel like you have to wear it just because everyone else is, or that it's for other people that's not your own. So that's kind of where I am coming from it. And I wish there was like a little bit more diverse. Now with that, there are like some women wrestlers who do complain that because of some of the others who dress more revealing that they get a push, and I know that's where you're going. And I think for some of those, you're just not. Rhea Ripley, regardless of how she dresses, is going to be one of the best wrestlers in WWE, regardless of how she dresses. So I'm not saying that's like I don't think it's involved in like someone's going to get more screen time if they show more skin. It just for me is like a personal taste of like I'm more on the modest side of like how I dress or how I like my family and friends to dress. Like that is just how I look at it. And again, I know this is performing art. I know this is creativity that people are expressing, but I don't know. It just comes like if everybody's doing it, just kind of comes off as just I don't know. It's a turn off for me. But that's just me. I hope I explained that well enough. I'll see what you think.
Yeah, definitely. And as I'm talking about this, if you want to cut in, just let me know. So a lot of kind of unpack with this for me is one, I'm going to start off this conversation with saying that there is an old saying, sex sells, right? So this is entertainment at the end of the day. With that being said, yes, sex does sell. But again, I'm somebody who grew up in the Attitude Era. We are long past divas, and now we have female superstars. So, with that being said, I don't, where I disagree is I don't feel like women are being objectified like they once were. We are past the Tori Wilsons, we are past the Stacy Keeblers, that the Sables. Like, we don't have those. I think the only one that would probably be even remotely close to that in today's era would be what's her name? The one that hangs out with Otis, the tall skinny chick. She's a model. She's with
Maxine.
yeah, Maxine. I think she's the only one that kind of still fits that almost like diva-esque in wrestling. All the other women in the division, I feel, are actual female superstars. Now, I don't. That's not a dig at Maxine either. Maxine's a gorgeous woman. Been in some matches here recently, but again, I think she prefers to be more behind the scenes type stuff and in promos over actually being in the ring. So, with that being said, the other kind of way I wanted to go with it is I feel like the way the attires are. So here lately, wrestling has been covering more hip hop rap type stuff. But Attitude Era, as far as I can remember, has always been a metalheads thing. And as far as wrestling fans are concerned, it's always been a metal world. And wrestling and metal music or heavy rock music all kind of they coincide with each other. You're gonna find wrestling stuff at metal stores too. And I'm probably gonna get burned for this, but Hot Topic, and I grew up in the new metal era, so to me, Hot Topic is a metal store. I know Hot Topic, they follow the trends, so it's not so much that way anymore. But even when I was younger and I was going to Hot Topic, wrestling merch was still there. So there's always been that correlation. Union Underground, a San Antonio band, did an intro for wrestling for WWE back in the day in the early 2000s. So there's that correlation, and it's funny because my wife, who is also very, very new to wrestling, is the one that actually pointed it out. She said most of these wrestlers look like they all shop at Hot Topic. From Rhea Ripley to even Io Sky to like there's a style of clothing with the belts and the little frillies that come down, all that stuff. Most of the female wrestlers all kind of dress the same, but in the same vein, you got somebody like Randy Orton. What does he wear? You have, wrestlers like there's a lot of wrestlers that wear just underwear. And then you have wrestlers like Braun Breaker who wear the tube singlet, and then you have people like John Cena who wears shorts, and t-shirts. So for me, I feel like the attire that they wear is part of the brand itself. And again, you want to sell merchandise, you want to grab people's attention. And like I said, now with females having that in-ring ability now, it's not so much about what they're wearing and more about their in-ring ability. But not only that, some of these women do some crazy. Like Io Sky is one of them. She does some pretty luchador type things. It makes sense for her to wear shorts that are pretty short. She needs that. I don't know about you, Matthew, but have you ever I've tried to do just a normal high kick wearing pants? It ain't happening. You need to be able to have that stretch. Even in like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the shorts that I wore were pretty they showed off my legs, because I needed to have that ability to move around and I need that flexibility, and some clothes just hinder that ability. And then we were talking about some female wrestlers that had an issue with that, and that being Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler. Now the issue with those two is they lack the talent that most of these other wrestlers have. And again, you have somebody like Liv Morgan who makes her own costumes. So she chooses to dress that way. And then I feel like with Liv Morgan, especially, it fits the character. She has this very bubbly, Harley Quinn-esque vibe about her that's very flirtatious, and so it fits the brand for her. And the fact that she makes her costumes, and Shotzi's another one that, for I was actually just watching a video not too long ago, it was probably like 2 days ago, where she was doing an interview and they were talking about Halloween Havoc. and how she got to host that and she got to make her own costumes. Women, as much as they will say that they don't want to be ogled and googly eyed and stuff, women love attention. So do men. People in general love attention. Let me word it that way. People in general love attention. We all have a little bit of narcissistic tendencies. So I feel that, women want to feel pretty. They want to feel sexy. They want to feel wanted. And so I feel like that is a little bit of that seasoning that kind of fits into the why they dress the way they do. But then you have somebody like Jade Cargill, who is a bombshell. Now granted, she's gotten a little bit smaller since her injury, but at the height of her physique, dude, she had, and it's not even looking at it from a sexual standpoint. She was a specimen. She is somebody who works hard, not only working out, but probably has a very strict diet. So why not show that off? Finn has an amazing physique as well, and he shows off those abs every chance he gets. So for me, it's like I don't see a difference with the women. Their breasts are still covered. Granted, there is cleavage, but for the most part, I feel like on the lower side, is what I said earlier, is they wear that just for accessibility in trying to pull off certain moves. Now, again, yes, there are tights that they can wear. And the next topic we get into kind of will cover that too. There are outfits that you can use to cover up with. But at the end of the day, if a female is comfortable going out dressed like that, then by all means. But I do agree with you. If a female isn't comfortable dressing that way, I don't think that they should be forced to. I don't think that should be something that is like a policy within WWE or any wrestling organization saying, no, you got to dress this way. If they're not comfortable with it, then don't. But if they are, then I'm all for it. Even if they all look like they shop at Hot Topic. Either way, I still love it. And yes, I'm a man. I'm a married man. I have kids. I have a daughter. But at the end of the day, I am a man. And there are I love looking at female wrestlers. I think I love the human body and the female body in general. So I'm not going to sit there and deny that and try to pretend like I'm not checking these girls out. But at the same time, I also do respect what they do and what they bring to the table. And I see them just as that. I see them as WWE superstars. I don't see them as an object. I see them as WWE superstars. And with that being said, Stephanie, Vakira, if you're watching this, I love you. And I will learn Spanish for you.
Well, very well said. Again, like I'm not saying what people should or shouldn't dress like. I just kind of noticed the kind of similarities with like all of it across like all the wrestling platforms. And I do get like flexibility and maneuverability is an important aspect. But it's just kind of something I've noticed. And again, like with anything, if you're comfortable wearing, cool. I'm also a guy, so like I'm not gonna say that I am better than anyone or that I'm not checking them out. Like, of course, like I'm a guy in my 20s. Like, of course, I am checking them out. But it's just something I've noticed again, like with just that conversation with my doctor, kind of just made me think of it, and we were just kind of having a conversation about it. So I was curious. Obviously, with this platform, we can have an open dialogue and conversation about those things. But let us know again. Let us know in the comments what you guys think as well. I do think it's definitely a different, like from the Attitude Era where they're having like bra and panties matches or bikini matches.
Yes.
We're not having that kind of like, sideshow-esque kind of things on like Monday Night Raw. It is solely focused on like wrestling and storylines, which I think is a very important like evolution for wrestling.
And that's something that like if we would have been having this conversation, back during the Attitude Era, my feelings would have aligned more with your doctor for sure. Because I've been like, yes, they are. Vince McMahon objectified a lot of women. The whole storyline that he had with Trish Stratus was pretty pathetic. And the whole thing with him kind of shitting on Linda McMahon during that whole thing, it was very dark. There are some dark storylines back in the Attitude Era, and crazy enough, Vince was involved in a lot of those.
Well, that kind of shows where he kind of wound up.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that too. Yeah, it kind of nowadays, knowing what we know about Vince now, it definitely makes sense. But I think the women's division has come a long way, and it's something that I enjoy watching. I really do. I may get hate for this, but I'm not somebody who's big on female sports. I don't find it entertaining. I've been to a couple of WNBA games, and I will say going and seeing it live is way more fun than watching it on TV. I'd much rather watch an actual NBA game over a WNBA game. But I was never been a huge fan of female sports, and it's not because they're females. They just there's something about it, I don't find it interesting. But with female wrestling, I'm all about it, man.
Well, I think with that, like there is, and again, like I'm not saying anything that hasn't been well documented. There is a skill gap between like men basketball players and women basketball players. You can be the best like women basketball player, but you're not like on the same level of a men's basketball player. Now with like wrestling, I think is kind of the oddity out of all that, where you can have fantastic female wrestlers who are better than men wrestlers, and you don't really see that in like actual sports. And again, I'm not, I'm sure there's fantastic, women athletes, but if you compare it to a guy, there's certain limitations due to biology that, kind of affect that, and again, not, if people hate me, that's fine. I'm just speaking kind of
You're gonna be called misogynist now.
yeah. And again, it's nothing like I've like, now that the WNBA is on like, local TV for me, like I watch it, but again, it's not the same. You don't get the dunks. You don't get, there's certain aspects of basketball that aren't in the WNBA. And I think that's kind of what makes it not as entertaining. They're still great, right? Like still great, like basketball players. Don't get me wrong. Like they're still good, but it lacks some certain things. But like with male and female wrestling, you can have similar aspects for each match,
Oh yeah.
and it would be almost comparable. And
I
that's why I think
think it also plays into wrestling, unlike other sports, tend to play into female strengths. And what I mean by that is look at somebody like Tiffany Stratton. Like she was a gymnast before this, or like a cheerleader or some shit. So like the flippies and all that stuff, that's second nature to her coming into the WWE. It's all the same stuff. You're taking bumps, but you're still doing backflips off of shit, and you're running and jumping, and so wrestling kind of caters to that. So a lot of these females that are good at that type of stuff, it's just a natural transition in from gymnastics or cheerleading into wrestling. Learn how to take a bump, learn how to talk on a mic, and you're golden.
yeah, but also kind of like with that, like there's well, I don't know if you like, I follow baseball because I work for a minor league baseball team, but there's gonna be a women's baseball like division that's gonna be starting I think in 2026, and I'm curious how that is because obviously softball is gonna be different from baseball, especially in the pitching like aspect. So I'm curious how that's gonna work. But also like I don't know if you've watched any softball, but those women get very intense in like I've watched like some of the highlights on ESPN and stuff, and they get very intense. So I'm curious like how this baseball division is gonna go. So like again, if anyone hates any of my comments, well, feel free to let me know. But I'm saying, but there's definitely these clear differences that wrestling you can play into your strengths. You don't have to play a certain way. Like basketball, there's only a few ways you can play. Baseball, there's only a few ways you can play. With wrestling, you can have your own unique like move set, and how you wrestle is purely unique to you. So that's why again, like with Tiffany Stratton being a gymnast, she can do more things because she grew up being like a gymnast. And then you have other wrestlers who were like, MMA fighters and stuff, so they can do more of that stuff. So wrestling is more freeform compared to like, there's certain rules in almost every sport that you have to play a certain way.
Well, I also think there's a correlation too with I think the difference here is also when it comes to other sports, it's gender specific, right? So you have the NBA and then you have the WNBA. The problem that the WNBA has is that the NBA has a large male fan base that is watching other males play a sport. The WNBA doesn't have a large female fan base. Females will bitch, moan, and groan about it, but then they don't go and support the very thing that they should be supporting, because males, we already have our, it's kind of one of those things where it's like a male's going to want to watch other males do things. We like to watch other males hit crazy feats. Females don't share that same kind of competitiveness that we do. So they don't sit there and they don't tend to root for other females in their crazy feats. Now, are females out there? Yes. And if you're one of those, I'm not talking about you. But the majority of women do not support female athletes. That's a huge issue. Now, the difference with wrestling is you don't have a male only wrestling show and a female only wrestling show. If you did, I don't think the females would get as much love and hype as they do. The fact of the matter is that they blend female matches within the entire show. So we as fans, and I don't want to use the word forced, but we are watching the entire event. So these
you're exposed to it throughout the show.
Exactly. So as you're great word. As you're exposed to it, you take the time to actually watch, and that's how you create those fans, because now we have females that are actually talented who are putting in the work to do something that's entertaining, and then that's how they get that male fan base, and of course the female fan base too. But females outright just aren't supportive of other females, and again, that may blow up in my face, but I feel like that is just a hard truth that most people don't want to admit. But I feel like that's the difference with wrestling versus the other sports, is that we have almost this co-ed type of mixture, which allows us to start to love the females that are performing and respect and enjoy what they're offering.
Yeah, I can definitely see the point you're making with that. And also, I think that there is such a high caliber that, like, again, there's probably some of the women wrestlers on the roster who can out wrestle the men too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, their skill. I think they've been put on some of the best matches consistently on pay-per-view, because, like, I think with some of the men's matches, they're either really good or some of them kind of just suck. And I think with the women, I think they're more consistently better over a long, like, if you look back at probably the last pay-per-views this year, I think they're consistently better across the board. I don't, maybe they're not the match of the night per se, but they're not like some of the terrible matches that, we see on some of the, the PLEs or pay-per-views or whatever. I think there's less kind of that kind of spectrum, that they're more consistent, I think.
And I think size has a lot to do with it too. You have women who are just naturally a smaller stature, so you're able to get more exciting matches out of them than, your big bulky guys. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of Nia Jax. I feel like she hurts wrestlers, and I feel like,
well, she has in the past,
like she's very botchy, and that's how I felt about Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler. They had their opinions and they're entitled to their opinions, but at the same time, I'm like, especially with Stark, like, yo, you're trying to paint this picture, which in my opinion, you're shitting on the locker room of people who, like, you yourself are making these women into objects, and they're far better than that. They actually have in-ring ability, something that you lack, something that you're constantly botching. And instead of looking at yourself and how can I become better? How can I get to that next level? You take the easy road and say, oh, well, these women are only doing this because of this. No. They put in the time. They put in the effort. They put in the work. Io Sky is one of my favorite female wrestlers. And for the most part, I think she dresses pretty modestly. I mean, she's not, yes, she's showing skin, but again, I think her outfits are more meant for performance, because if you see her when she shows up prior to her wrestling in her just normal attire, she dresses really nice. She's not really showing much. So again, it's one of those things where it's like, that's a big slap in the face to somebody like that, somebody who is miles ahead of you. Valkyria is even somebody who's a young wrestler. I feel like Valkyria could dance circles around Zoe Stark. And again, it's I think it's a lame cop out, and it sucks that she got injured. But again, I feel like things happen, and I think that things happen because of the lack of wanting to better yourself and instead just pointing fingers at everybody.
I think that's a good way to sum it up. I feel with, at least on that aspect, that we feel kind of similar about with it. So, but again, let us know anything about it, and please don't cancel us. But anyway, moving on.
So the next one kind of ties into this, and this is why I'm glad that you brought up this one, because this is something that I also wanted to bring up. Now, at the time of this recording, things I don't know much about it. It might switch up here and there, but our next topic is we're going to be talking about Saudi Arabia, and with this pay-per-view this weekend that is going to be held in Saudi Arabia, there's a chance that there is talks about this pay-per-view being moved to another location with everything going on in the Middle East right now. We're not here to get political. We are a wrestling show, but that is something that is in the news right now. Yeah, we don't know where this event's going to be. We still have a few more days until the event happens. Now, I do understand that it's not easy to move an event from one location, especially something that's overseas, to something else. The logistics of it is probably a fucking nightmare. There's probably going to be a lot of money loss if this does end up happening. But at the end of the day, this whole thing is one of the main reasons why I personally feel like we don't need to take an American product overseas like we do. My other big gripe about it is, in particular, Saudi Arabia, and this fits along with the women attire. When they perform in Saudi Arabia, WWE bends to Saudi Arabia's rules, and it's something that I don't agree with. And the reason why I don't agree with it is because Saudis watch wrestling the entire year, and they consume the product and the brand as is. To take it over there and then automatically say, we want you to come here, but we want you to do it our way, is a big slap in the face. And I know some people will say, and we'll probably get it in the comments too, where people will say something like, well, they're just trying to respect their culture. Okay, so one side has to respect one side, but the other doesn't. And what I mean by that is, you want WWE, who is an established brand, is a product that you already consume, to bend the knee while you're also being disrespectful to the brand itself. Because again, you already consume this product as it is, and now you want to change it just because it's in your backyard. That doesn't make sense. I don't agree with it. And overall, the product feels different when it's in Saudi Arabia. I feel like not only are the wrestlers having to change their attire, but I feel like they have to walk on eggshells. I feel like the female superstars in this organization don't get the respect that they deserve, and get looked at just that. Like, I think the gender line is not blurred there. You're a female, you're below us. I don't care that you're a superstar. At the end of the day, you're still female, and I don't appreciate that. And then again, it comes down to safety. Like, if they're going to be that strict about the product being televised that way in their backyard, then what are the other rules that we don't know about behind the scenes that could get a wrestler potentially in trouble because it's different from what they're used to? And then we have kind of, although Brittany Griner, I'm not a fan of her, but we might have one of those situations with the wrestler because they're, they may do something that country doesn't agree with, and it could be something stupid. Now, again, Brittany Griner was a whole different, she had drugs on her, different thing. But, it's kind of correlation wise, what I'm trying to make is that it's something that is a potential negative towards a superstar crossing a line that they didn't know that they shouldn't.
So, man, well, we're just really trying to get canceled on this podcast, aren't we? But no, with that,
Get some views, baby.
We're now the wrestling canceled instead of the wrestling collective. Now with that, do I share similar opinions? Yes, I do. Now, first, I will lay out my opinion, and then I'll play devil's advocate for a minute, but I'll get to that in a minute. First off, yes, they are changing. This is the only country that they go to, or only like area of the world where they have to change the WWE product, where they have to, the women have to cover up, that they can't wear certain things. And yes, is it changing the product based on a culture? It is. Now, with that, if they obviously they consume wrestling to be fans, they have to watch it outside of their country where women wear what they want and can wrestle and are featured on the show heavily. Yes. So now, does it change it when it goes over there? It does. And now this is not the only product that Saudi Arabia or the Middle East, like that area, has changed. Like, I'm a fan of Monster Jam. That is a monster truck company. They go over there. They can only run certain monster trucks, certain names, and they had to modify one of the trucks to, it was called Blue Thunder, and they couldn't have lightning bolts on it. It was just a blue truck. I don't understand the reasoning. Yeah, they had to take the lightning bolts off the truck. I don't know why. I couldn't find a reason why, but they said they had to censor it.
At that point, it feels like it's just a power move. Like they're just seeing what they can get away with.
So yeah, and then one of the more popular trucks is called Gravedigger in Saudi. I believe it was Saudi Arabia or somewhere in that area of the world. They said they couldn't run that truck because it's an anti-religious truck, even though it's not exactly. Yeah, it went against the culture.
Is Monster Jam. Like I went to a few Monster Jams growing up as a kid. Gravedigger was Monster Jam when I was a kid.
Yeah, they couldn't run that truck.
Wow.
So there's been other aspects of American, products or American aspects of our culture that have gone over there and they've had to modify it or censor it due to, whatever kind of, the difference of beliefs, I'll say, over there in that part of the world. Now, here's where the devil advocate will come in for two parts. One, now the first ever Saudi Arabia WWE show, there was no women featured at all. Now they have women matches. They have, Renee Young was a women's commentator on one of the shows. They have women referees. Now, yes, do they still have to cover up? Yes, but they are featured on the show. Two, if you take the money that Saudi Arabia has given WWE and you sign that contract, you know what you're getting into. And I know that's not a wrestler's decision. The people wrestling don't have control over that. It is the WWE higher-ups who made that decision. But when you take someone's money like that, you got to follow their rules because you accepted their money. So that is how I'm going to play devil's advocate.
So, but in general, that's where it comes down to, again, we're dealing with a company that is greedy. Again, episode 1. So it doesn't surprise me. And again, that's another further push of like money over talent, which is disheartening. But yeah. So anyway, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah. But yes, but I would like just to point out that our opinions are respective to our own and how we're discussing this. So again, if you have any kind of comments, please let us know in the comments what you think.
Yeah, definitely, man. And that's the thing I want people to understand is that these conversations would happen whether we were in front of a camera or not. Me and Matthew love talking wrestling, and I'm getting up there in age. I'm becoming that old man, and I have very strong opinions about things. And if you disagree with mine, that's completely okay. I don't hate you for it. I like having these kinds of discussions. So let's keep it, nice in the comments. There's no need for name calling or anything like that. If you disagree with me or Matthew Thomas, you can simply disagree. You can say your piece. But let's keep it
Respectful.
nice. There you go, respectful. But yeah, I'm just a genuine dude. So is Matthew Thomas. This is why we get along. I kind of just say what I'm thinking, and it is what it is. But at the end of the day, we're here to entertain. We're here to have fun, and we're here to talk wrestling. So I hope you guys are enjoying the conversation.
And kind of with that too, just real quick, and we'll be moving on because we got some very interesting stuff going on with AEW. But with that though, is we're just trying to have dialogue with anything too. Like there's no right or wrong answer for any of the topics that we have discussed. Like everyone has their own opinion on stuff and see things differently that we might not see or might not agree with, and that's okay. Like we want the dialogue. with everything. Because again, there's no like actual like this is all gray area stuff that we're talking about anyway that we have our opinions on. So again, but let us know.
Yeah, definitely, man. And with that, let's go ahead and segue to the next topic. Now, this is a topic I don't know much about. Excuse me. I saw a article of this not too long ago, but I was at work when I saw it, and I was actually just I drive for a living, so I was stopping to put gas, and I didn't get to read the article. So I am glad that you brought it up, and I'm interested in seeing what this is all about. So the next topic we're going to talk about is John Moxley, and I just put John Moxley sued. So I will let you take the mic and kind of go deeper into it.
All right, so I'm going to present the facts that are in this lawsuit between. So it's a former crew member who is suing John Moxley, real name Jonathan Good, and AEW as well for negligent. Yeah, I can't talk today.
Negligence.
Negligence. There we go.
Oh, good. I get those all the time.
Oh yeah, you just can't. The word just doesn't work. Anyway, not to digress from my point. And for civil assault and battery as well. So a lot going on stemming from an incident back in 2023.
Is this the guy that I think I saw? Maybe that's what I saw. Is this where he like pushed a crew member like while he was in a match?
Yep.
He, like, okay, sorry. We're on the same page then. Okay, sorry.
Yep. Then you know what we're talking about then. So this lawsuit was filed on May 30th of this year by Christopher Dispenza. I believe I'm saying the name correctly. He is a wrestling and entertainment production crew member who started doing contract work for AEW back in 2019. He is not a direct employee by AEW. I just want to make that very clear. He's only a contractor. So with that, his legal team is alleging, and they've talked to, I'm getting this from Sports Illustrated. I will have Joseph leave a link for that if anyone wants to read the whole. They have all the paperwork and everything. I'm just going to buzz through the highlights. But if you want to read the full thing, go to Sports Illustrated. So this Christopher Dispenza claims he suffered severe neck and shoulder injuries as a result of being shoved to the ground by John Moxley during his match with Kenny Omega. It was a steel cage match back in 2023 in Detroit between the two. So he said that due to this injury, it required him to have cervical fusion surgery, shoulder surgery, and treatment for other undisclosed injuries. So this occurred, I got the date, May 10th, 2023 on episode of AEW Dynamite. So this is when you can see it on YouTube. They have the matchup or part of it. They bust out of the steel cage. John Moxley grabs a screwdriver. He pushes the guy down, and then he goes to work on Kenny Omega. So he said, due to that fall, like him being pushed, required, kind of got all of his injuries from being pushed. So he says that he did not disclose it to AEW at the time due to, let me see here, I want to get the wording correct on this. Let's see, I believe it was due to, sorry, there's a lot of paperwork I'm trying to read pretty quickly. No but worries. Okay, never disclosed it. But he said he met with Tony Khan and AEW General Counsel Chris Peck about potential full-time employment opportunities in the months after the incident, but acknowledged there was never prior conversation about the injuries he had sustained. So he didn't disclose it directly with AEW at the time. So with that, he said he has not worked for AEW since the end of 2024. And now he's filed this lawsuit. Again, there's more details and all that with all the paperwork that was filed. But that's kind of the main thing. So I'm kind of curious your take on it, what you think about him suing it, the suing them, the timeline, and now that the lawsuit is, officially dropped.
Okay, well, as you talked about it, my opinion kind of shifted once you mentioned that he didn't disclose with AEW or any of those people. In fact, from what my understanding is that he was looking to further employment with them. So this was after he got pushed. He was trying to further the employment.
Yes, he said. They say in this article that he talked about full-time employment with Tony Khan, but he never there was never a prior conversation about the injuries he says he sustained.
Okay, so my jerk reaction is going to say fuck this guy. Um what it sounds like to me is in the conversation maybe he didn't get what he wanted. And so he made this event bigger than it was. The fact that he didn't bring it up um to them about it and it never was brought up, yet he was looking for further employment, tells me he got denied that further employment or something else came up that he didn't agree with. So now he's saying, you know what, fuck you guys. Y'all don't want to play ball. All of a sudden my fucking neck hurts. Secondly, although he's a contractor, and this might have been a failure on the employer's part, but dude, you're working an event that has the potential um, to get other people involved. Open your fucking eyes. Understand that that entire area that you're in is a wrestler's playground. So you are part of the show essentially. Get the fuck out of the way. I mean, Shawn Michaels is known for fucking attacking cameramen. So get the fuck out of the way. It's and again, this is having very the fan that got hit by the ATV and fucking sold the fucking fall from Stone Cold better than most wrestlers today. It feels like it's one of those situations like you know exactly where you are, but you're trying to be a diva and see how much you can. Now, if he did sustain severe injuries, one dude, you should have fucking talked to AEW while you were there at right then and there. If it's something that you did, maybe you weren't in pain, adrenaline, what have you, maybe you weren't in pain right away, and then you found out later. Again, this is something that you should have contacted the organization about first before jumping into a lawsuit and saying, "Hey, man, look, I understand what you guys do for the show, but I have some medical bills that I can't afford these. Is there any way we could work out a deal? Behind the scenes, work out a deal with them to see if they can help you." Because again, yes, it was you were sustaining these injuries by a superstar that was within the organization. So I do feel that the organization does hold some responsibility. But the way that this article, again, I have to go out and read it myself, but from what you're telling me, it sounds like a dude that took a contract job, saw as an opportunity to get into an organization that he's a fan of. Conversation didn't go the way he wanted it to, and so now he's getting a lawyer, and he's saying, "I'm gonna make them pay because I'm a pouty little bitch." Again, this is all assumption, but that's my take on pretty much the information that's been given to me. That's how I feel it went down.
And yeah, kind of my take on this, like, okay, so I've had to deal with injuries at work, and you always disclose if you are injured at work. You always disclose
Right then and there.
Yeah, and again, maybe he wasn't, but to me, okay, if you've had to have neck fusion and shoulder surgery, you were probably in pain.
Mm-hmm.
When it happened. Again, I've had shoulder problems. I've had my scapula out of place, and you know what? It really hurts. I couldn't lift my arm. I was in intense pain. So knowing that, again, with my history of shoulder problems, I know when my shoulder is messed up. I know that something's not right. Even if you got adrenaline going, like, you'll still, like, with the shoulder and how you have to move it, it will hurt. So, and again, with that, like with anything, and like with my current job, luckily I've not gotten injured in my current job, but they always say you need to document it. If you don't document it, we can't help you. So,
Yep.
and that is, I think, the issue
And some
here
jobs
is,
will fire you if you don't. Like I've worked at some jobs that if you don't document it and you fail to document it, that is an automatic termination.
yeah, and honestly, I can see why too. And like, even like, again, with my job is like, even if it's just a cut or a scrape or something, you still have to disclose it to your supervisor. Even if it's like, oh, it's something tiny or whatever, I'll be fine. No, you still have to disclose it. So with that, he should have, or again, maybe the next day, like, oh, I can't move my arm. I better tell, my supervisor or Tony Khan or somebody, at least make a record that you tried to disclose an injury. And now again, I can see if you said, hey, my shoulder's busted because this guy pushed me. I need help. We need to work something out. And AEW just said, fuck you. Okay. That I can see is,
Yep, that's when you lawyer up. Yep.
exactly. But and again, this is from 2023 and he just stopped working for them in 2024 at December. So this was May of 23. And then he no longer worked for them at the December of 2024.
Yeah, dude, that
So
sounds fishy as shit.
yeah, like I can see like again, to me with injuries and my experience with them is you have to disclose them, because if you don't, then like, well, you were working for a year and a half under us and you didn't say anything.
Yep. And as correct me if I'm wrong, but from what my minimal knowledge of AEW is, they seem like a company that like money is not a huge problem for them, especially when they what they throw at their talent. So it sounds like a situation where if he was actually hurt, if he would have went up to the right people and said, "Hey, man, like I want this taken care of. I can't afford this," it would have been done, and there would have been no drama. I feel like this dude's just trying to cash in, and yeah, especially almost a year later, it doesn't add up.
No, I agree. And to me, like, if you're saying they're negligent, but you still worked for them for a year and a half, and again, you're saying in this article that he never disclosed to anyone that he got injured, then how is the company supposed to know?
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, that's an odd situation. Again, just sounds like a dude trying to cash in and make a quick buck.
Yeah, so we'll see. I'll give you any updates if anything does progress with it. And again, like if this dude actually did get hurt, and if he is, had these surgeries, and what did suffer from this, I feel for the guy. I'm not saying he's lying about these injuries. I'm just saying he should have done it. He should have followed the process through the proper channels.
Yeah, the way he went about it was completely fucked up and wrong. He shouldn't have gone that route. Like, there's an issue, and even then, if the injuries that were sustained didn't show up till later, like let's say he went and he's like, man, my fucking shoulder's been hurting, and he waited a few months to go get it looked at and finally got it looked at, and then the doctor tells him, yeah, these injuries are probably from said event that happened. Then again, man the fuck up and go talk to the people directly. Don't lawyer up right away. Like it's dumb. It's a waste of energy, time, and it's just it seems like he had almost a vindictive type of retaliation for what happened.
I would agree with that. And again, if anyone wants the Sports Illustrated, they have all the paperwork. You can actually read the lawsuit as well. So if anyone wants to do that, I'll have Joseph put a link in the description for this. That way, if you want to read everything that's going on, all the details, it's in the description.
Awesome, man. Um, so yeah, is there anything else you wanted to touch on that before we move on to the next one?
I think we said all we got to say. Let's move on to the last topic before we start Night of Champions.
All right. So the last topic we're going to talk about today is our thoughts on the Seth Rollins faction. The last time we did the episode, we didn't know who the fourth man was going to be. We made our predictions, and if you want to see what those predictions were, head on over to the first episode and check it out. Now we are at a point where we know.
Well, spoiler alert, we were wrong.
So now we're going to talk about the faction, and so my thoughts on this faction is, I love the Seth Rollins Braun Breaker duo. I really, really enjoy that. But again, Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker are in my top 5 wrestlers right now in the game. I really enjoy watching them perform. I think Braun Breaker is going to be like, he's just getting started. I'm really excited to see where he's going. He's also a Steiner, so I was a Steiner fan back when I was younger. So just knowing that he's in that bloodline, I love it. My only real issue here with this is Bronson Reed. I mean, the Paul Heyman thing, okay, I'll take it. I like Paul Heyman. I think his his facial expressions and the way that he reacts when people are talking. Like whenever Seth Rollins is talking, just pay attention to Paul Heyman for a little while. He'll make you laugh. He's a guy that just draws people's attention. So I get it. Paul Heyman's also known for whoever's corner he's in, he takes them to that next level. So I'm excited to see where that goes, especially with Braun Breaker. Seth Rollins, I think, is pretty well established, but Braun Breaker is at that cusp where it's like, what do we do with them? Where we're going to take them? So I'm excited to see that. Bronson Reed, on the other hand, I like Bronson Reed. I think he looks great next to Braun Breaker. My only issue is he looks great next to Braun Breaker, but Braun Breaker was kind of billed as the muscle in this group. And then you're going to show a fourth person, and this person's bigger than your muscle. So now you just have two muscles. Yeah, it's like, to me, that was a little weird. But the main issue that I had was the last time we saw Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed together, Bronson Reed was dropping tsunami after tsunami on Rollins. And so they never really discussed that and try to fix that loose end. But I think, again, long storytelling, I have a feeling that is going to come back and bite Bronson Reed in the ass. I feel like Seth Rollins is using him as a pawn at this moment. I'd hate to say that he's doing the same thing with Braun Breaker, and even Paul Heyman, but I think overall there might be this weird arc that Seth Rollins, again, being the architect that he is that he's using these people as pawns, and he's kind of showing the WWE universe what Roman Reigns was doing. And he's basically being a mimic of that, but he's aware of it, and he's trying to make everybody else aware of it. The whole like cult mentality, I'm not really feeding into that. I like the way Seth is kind of showing like this cult leader kind of vibe, but again, I think he's being that extra because he wants to kind of, again, I may be completely left field with this, but I feel like this is kind of how they're going to bring Roman back. It's kind of this whole like, I'm going to build this empire cult type thing, and then I'm going to throw it back in all of y'all's faces and show you that it was completely a work. I knew what I was doing. I used these people just like Roman did to get where I wanted to go, and that these fucking people are too dumb to realize, he's basically taking the John Cena thing to another level, I feel. Whereas like John Cena's kind of like pointing the mirror at the fans, about like, look at how you are. You guys fall for everything. You're gullible. Seth Rollins is kind of doing the same thing, but he's holding that mirror up to the fans and look at these guys. Like, look how easily people are like can be manipulated and used. I'm still sad Karrion Kross isn't in the group. I feel like Karrion Kross could have been a great addition. It would have made more sense than Bronson. But if we're going with the kind of idea that I'm thinking is going on, the Bronson Reed definitely makes more sense for that backstab. And again, Seth's known for that. I wasn't around during the Shield days, but I know that he turned on Roman Reigns, and so he's kind of known for that. So you can't really trust Seth. And again, that's one of the reasons why I fucking love this guy, is that you can't really nail him down as one thing. You think you got him, and there's that twist. As of right now, though, I'm enjoying it. I love seeing, again, Money in the Bank, watching fucking his guys come out, and then watching Solo's guys come out, and then this fucking brawl happens. And this is where, again, earlier I had mentioned Jacob Fatu. I would have really loved to see Jacob in this faction. It just didn't make sense on how you could go about putting him in the faction.
Yeah.
Just Seth collecting these like Pokemon, I think would have been fucking amazing. And it's all these savage motherfuckers. But when Fatu turned on Solo, I was like, there's our in right there. But yeah, man, I really like this faction. I'm curious to see where it's going to go. And then side note, I have been seeing a lot of people talk about Karrion Kross and Aleister Black coming together. I think that would be an interesting duo. But yeah, I'm just kind of throwing that out there. That has nothing to do with what we're talking now, but I just saw it earlier today on social media, and I was like, hey, that actually would be pretty cool to see. But anyway, I pass the mic to you, man. How do you feel about Seth Rollins' faction and what's going on right now currently?
So I will start off and say I wish it was just Bronson and Seth. I think they would have been cool as a tag team, kind of like I don't know if you remember like the mid '90s, like
Bronson
the
or Braun?
oh sorry,
Braun Breaker?
Seth and Breaker. There we go.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, the Braun Bronsons is like
Yeah, it's just yeah. One just has a longer name.
right.
Um, sorry, yeah, Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins. I wish that was just a tag team with Paul Heyman as a third guy. I think it would have made more sense for both of them. Like again, I get where they're going with it. If like what you're saying is kind of the direction they're heading, I think it would be cool. At the end for Seth to kind of turn on Bronson Reed and kind of do that thing as a callback to when they were fighting a while ago. But I wish like Shawn Michaels and Diesel in the '90s kind of thing with like Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. I
Mhm.
wish they would have kind of kept with that, like the two dudes with attitudes kind of thing. I wish they would have went with that, but again, like it seems like if they do like a tag team and form, it usually morphs into a faction at some point. So yeah, I mean, again, is it good work by Seth? Of course it is. Like I think he is he's a top guy for a reason, and one of the top guys in WWE for a reason. And I hope Braun Breaker gets to that level. Hopefully, I'm hoping soon at some point. I could definitely see him being champ somewhere down the line. I'm not saying immediately, but somewhere in the next like 3 to 5 years, I think he
Yep.
should definitely be champion. Naturally gifted, he's got that explosiveness to him. He's good in the ring, and I think once if you pair him with like a Paul Heyman as a mouthpiece, I think it's a great combination. But I don't know. I feel like it feels a little like abrupt for like Seth to like just start doing this and creating this faction. Again, I get why he's doing it, but it just feels like like at Mania, I get that he turned Paul Heyman turned at everyone and aligned himself with Seth. Like I get it. They're explaining everything well, but it just I wish there was a little bit more aspects to it instead of nothing's really been true explained just yet with everything. I think there's still a little loose ends with everything. I think there's some stuff that doesn't make much sense right away. So we'll have to wait and see. But so far, it's going okay. I hope they kind of like either Seth's got to make like a mega faction where he just starts getting all these people and then like he just starts booting them out at some point. You know what I mean? Like he'll
Yeah.
get a guy, he'll use them, and like, all right, you're gone, and
Yeah.
like something like that. Or they keep it just at these four guys. I don't want it to and again, we'll see how long this lasts. I think Seth is good on his own; that he doesn't need anyone per se because he's been, he's beaten Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Like, do you need all these guys around you? Do you need Paul Heyman's guidance? But again, it's something for everybody to do. It is a storyline for everybody.
Mhm.
And if you have someone as good as Paul Heyman, I would want him on TV regardless of position where he's at. I think he's very underrated from like if anyone's newer to wrestling, they didn't watch in the 90s with ECW and his I liked his commentary work with Jim Ross in the early 2000s.
Yup.
Like this dude is mega talented and he should be used as he's being used right now. He should be on TV. I think he's just really good at what he does for being a non-wrestler.
Yep. Even though he's looking more and more like a thumb as he gets older. But I
Yeah.
feel like I feel like it's and you mentioned Roman Reigns earlier in the show. I feel like this particular storyline is going to be that slow burner. It's the one that's going to take some time. They're going to drag this out. They need something to keep us kind of glued to the TV because, like you said, Roman Reigns was at the top for almost what a decade. So it's
5 years. Yeah.
yeah, okay, so yeah, 5 years. So you he's not here now. You have these superstars kind of spread out. It's like, what do we do with these guys? And you're seeing the good with the Seth Rollins build, and then you're kind of seeing the bad with Uso and Cody Rhodes and that whole side. That it's a big clusterfuck, So that I am excited to see, how they're gonna do that. You still have Randy Orton. You have Sami Zayn as like as so much as I'm like, but you have these other guys kind of working that side of SmackDown and whatnot. I think Raw is the stronger brand.
Oh yeah.
But again, maybe it's just because I like all the wrestlers that are in there. But yeah, man, I think it's gonna be a slow burn. I don't really. I kind of hope I'm not right with the way that faction's being built, but it's the only thing that makes sense to me as far as again the Bronson Reed thing. But I do agree. I think Paul Heyman being kind of that bird on the shoulder to Seth is something that I really enjoy seeing. And I do like Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker, but with the addition of Bronson Reed, I feel like Braun Breaker has just kind of turned into the dog that he pretends to be. And he really just feels like a leashed animal at this point. So I could see a point where we have another Jacob Fatu situation, where he just gets tired of being told what to do, and he bites the hand that feeds, essentially. But yeah, man. Anything else you want to add to that before we go ahead and move on
I
to
think
Night
we
of
kind of
Champions?
covered it with it. But yes, I think it does kind of devalue Braun Breaker if you're just bringing a bigger guy who's bigger than him. I wish they would have brought in like a Karrion Kross or a Logan Paul even, or an AJ Styles or somebody who is like more of a Seth Rollins body type.
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah,
would
and
have
yeah, I totally agree. I feel like you already had the muscle. You didn't need to bring in more. You need to have somebody who's like that's why I think a lot of people were pulling for Karrion Kross. You need that like psychological type of game player to be within that faction. But right now they're just running on like we're the strongest faction here.
yeah. It's kind of like ordering a steak and then ordering a bigger steak. Like you wouldn't. It doesn't make any sense. Like I'm just saying.
Hey, well, first of all, I'm a Texan, so bring all the steaks. I want a bigger steak. I'm gonna eat that motherfucker, and then I'm gonna take that motherfucker home, and I'm gonna eat that motherfucker when I go home.
Sorry, I forgot you're from Texas.
Like, oh, you want to? I'm gonna take the big one home, so I can enjoy that with some fucking bourbon. But all right, so let's move on to
On that
Night of
note,
Champions. Let's move on to Night of Champions, which is going to be taking place this weekend. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Currently, we have 5 matches on this card. At least what I could find online. I did look this up right before the show. So these are the matches that I have currently. It may change within the week, but for right now, this is what we have. So we are going to make predictions, and the first prediction we're going to be doing is we have the United States Championship being put on the line, and that is Jacob Fatu versus Solo. So who do you got and why?
I'm gonna be honest. Like out of everyone in the bloodline, well, actually, I'll take that back. The majority of the people started adding to the bloodline. I started to care less and less about. I get Jacob Fatu. I think he's a good wrestler. He's got that uniqueness of like the werewolf, wolf, whatever he's doing. He's got the uniqueness of that. But I'm gonna be honest, this is definitely not the match where like I'm gonna be glued to my seat. Like I can't wait for this match to happen, kind of thing. I think I think Fatu's going to retain, but also I wouldn't necessarily care or be too shocked if Solo won. But I don't think they're going to give Solo a belt right away. I think they're going to keep going with Fatu for a little bit. I don't see him losing it right now. But yeah, this is like the Drew McIntyre Damon Priest match to me that we talked about last time. It's a match that to me I just don't care much about who wins or loses.
Well, first off, I'll say how dare you, because I totally disagree. Uh, I am also going to be picking Jacob Fatu because I feel that Solo is not going to be able to pull this one out unless he has somebody intervene. And again, with the title match on the line, you got to be very careful with that. Although WWE to make up their own fucking rules sometimes, but I don't see Jacob losing. He's at the fucking height of his hype right now. He's all gas, no brakes. Ramin. So I'm totally excited for this match. I love Jacob Fatu. He's one of my top 5 wrestlers. And if you're paying attention and keeping score, you might have all 5 almost. Based on the conversations we've had today. But Jacob is somebody who I really love. I really enjoy watching him. He is true to his statement of all gas, no brakes. He's a guy that goes in there and he's at 100% fucking just gas on the pedal the entire match. And that's what makes him entertaining for me. And I think he has one of the coolest Samoa drops out of any wrestler. And the fact that he picked up Bronson Reed at Money in the Bank and just and made it look so beautiful. Yeah, I'm going Jacob. And I'm excited to see how Solo's going to react in the ring. Like I said, last pay-per-view, he really entertained me. I'm kind of excited to see what he's going to bring to the table this time around. So, next one we're going to be talking about is the men's Intercontinental Championship. And we have Mr. Dom Mysterio versus none other than AJ Styles.
So with this, even though I'm currently wearing an AJ Styles shirt, he is one of my favorite wrestlers, been my favorite wrestler for, well, one of my favorites for a long time, even going back to his early TNA days. I got to go Dom Mysterio on this one just because the dude he's a great champ. He is definitely one of the hottest wrestlers in terms of crowd reactions, as we've been talking about throughout this whole podcast. I don't think he should be losing it for this IC belt for a long time, or if he does, it should be to his father, Rey Mysterio. Those are like the only two things that I can see happening. And even though I love AJ, I want to see him as champ at some point, even though I would like to see him as a WWE or World Heavyweight champ. I think he would be a great Intercontinental champion, but he's going up against Dominic Mysterio, and I don't think Dom is losing.
On this one, I'm going to agree with you. I feel like if they were going to give AJ the belt, they should have gave AJ the belt when Logan Paul had the was it the U.S. belt, the United States
US.
belt? When he had it, yeah. When he had it, I feel like if they were going to give AJ a belt, that's when that should have happened. Yeah, I don't see Dom losing his belt. Not this fucking early. Not this early in his reign. Again, we're talking about somebody who puts asses in seats. We're talking about somebody that knows how to get the crowd to pop. We're talking about somebody that knows how to bring heat. We're talking about somebody who also got cheered and got a "you deserve this" while also being one of the most hated wrestlers in the industry today. I don't see Dom losing to AJ as much as I'd like to see AJ have gold. I don't see it happening. I know my mom is going to pick AJ regardless because she loves hairy buff dudes, and AJ is a hairy buff dude. She likes hairy chests. So shout out to my mom. Sorry, Mom. I don't think AJ is winning this one. Matthew Thomas doesn't think he's winning, although we both would like to see that victory happen. It's not. And again, yeah, Dom, I really like what you said. I think the best way for Dom to lose is to lose to Ray. I think that would be an epic fucking match. And yeah, so we're both going Dom on that one. So far, we're 2 for 2. We're picking the same guys. So now let's move on to the Queen of the Ring finals. And let's see where you stand with this. We have Asuka coming back to become what was she out for? She was out on injury, right?
I believe. Well, yeah, and I think she had some stuff like personally. Like I think she had a stalker or something, or it was something. Yeah, like she was out for a while, and then like I think somebody was stalking her. I believe was part of the reason too.
Oh wow. Well, she's back, and speaking of stalkers, another wrestler who had a stalker here recently is Roxanne. Roxanne Perez is also going to be in this match, and we have the third combatant, which is going to be Jade Cargill. So we have Asuka, Roxanne, and Jade in the Queen of the Ring finals. Who you got?
Well, I'm seeing. Okay, so I'm also looking this up too, and it looks like it's either going to be Roxanne or Jade versus Asuka. That I when are they going to determine if it's going to be a one-on-one match? But I don't know when do they determine if it's Roxanne or Jade.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then that will probably be determined this Friday on SmackDown.
Yeah,
because Jade is on SmackDown, I believe, not Raw.
Okay, so
that's my
what
bad.
I'm reading.
I thought it was a triple threat.
No, it's gonna be a one-on-one match. And so yeah, it's showing or. It's yeah.
Okay.
At the time of this recording, we do not know who officially is in the match. So I would say
we
I'm
do know Asuka's in it though, right?
Yes, Asuka is officially in it, but we don't know who is she going to be facing at this time. So
okay.
And I can even look on a different different website as well just to confirm. But yes, actually, at the time of this recording, so the semifinals for the women's match, for the women's Queen of the Ring, will be Jade Cargill versus Roxanne on today, actually, Monday Night Raw, June 23rd. So a few hours after we record this.
So let's do it this way then. Let's go ahead and, since we already know Asuka's in it, go ahead and pick between Roxanne and Jade first, and then whoever you pick out of that, then we'll put that against Asuka.
So I'm just gonna say straight up, I don't think Asuka's winning. Whoever she faces against, I don't think she's gonna win. She just hasn't been built up yet to be a champ again. I think she was very hot, and then she got hurt, had to take some time off, and she came back for a little bit, then had to take some more time off for various reasons. She hasn't got that like full kind of push back, and she was hot when she first started. She was undefeated for the longest time. Then she lost to Charlotte Flair at Mania. I didn't necessarily agree with, but it is what it is. And then she kind of just fell off for a little bit, and she was tag champs with Kairi Sane, I believe. So she was doing some of that stuff, and then she kind of disappeared for a while, got injured, all that stuff. So I don't think she's going to be winning this at this time. But I will say between Roxanne and Jade, that is a super. I could see either one. I could see either one winning, and I know with Naomi being Money in the Bank, I think that might have some implications. I'm gonna go, and I like Roxanne Perez. I think she's really starting to develop her character and her ring work, and I wish she was fully part of the Judgment Day instead of just being a satellite member. I think put her in Judgment Day. But anyway, I'm gonna say Jade Cargill is gonna beat Roxanne and beat Asuka. I think she's gonna become the Queen of the Ring because that sets her up for SummerSlam, get a title shot there because Naomi is Money in the Bank champ. So that is where I'm going.
I really like that. I like that line of thinking. Now, if you will, try to stay with me on my crazy ass left field thinking here. So I think I'm pulling for Roxanne. I have become a huge Roxanne fan. And you mentioned Judgment Day. I think the reason why they haven't made her a full member just yet is, again, we got that slow burn going. This idea may be impacted because of the Liv Morgan thing, whether it happens or it doesn't. But I have a feeling that if Roxanne wins, it's going to be because Finn Balor is going to come in and help out. He's the only one in Judgment Day that is really pulling for Roxanne to be in Judgment Day. And not only that, he has been slowly showing his disdain for Dom and for Liv and for what's her name? Their Groot, the giant Raquel, yeah. So I have a feeling that it might be in his best interest to try to help Roxanne win, so that way she can try to get a title run and go into what I mentioned earlier. Roxanne having a belt, Liv having a belt, causing more friction between the two girls. I feel like that's just a storyline that could happen. Again, because you have Finn and you have Dom and you have these two girls, and Finn wants control. He's noticing that he's losing it, and based off of what he did with Damian Priest and Rhea, it just seems to make sense. Will they recycle that idea? I don't know. The other aspect is that Jade wins. Like you said, but I could also see Jade losing to Roxanne, not just because of Finn, but like you said, Naomi. This one is a lot less likely to happen for the fact that Naomi does want blood. And so I feel like she wouldn't interrupt because she wants Jade to win. She could even help Jade at that point to try to get her to SummerSlam, like you said. Helping doesn't make sense, though, but her staying out of it does seem to make more sense if we're going the route of having her at SummerSlam. But I'm going to sit more on Roxanne's going to win because of Finn's involvement, which is going to further cause heat within Judgment Day. And then
I like that.
I agree with you on the Asuka thing. I don't see Asuka winning, regardless who she faces. Again, like you said, it's too soon. Doesn't make sense. You need to build her up a lot. I mean, it's how I felt kind of about Alexa Bliss too. Alexa Bliss has been gone for a while. She's back. It doesn't make sense. Same thing with Becky Lynch. She was gone. Now she's back. She's the only one out of the three that actually got a title shot, a title run now. And it doesn't play out well. So I don't see them making that same mistake. The only way I see Asuka winning is because of, again, where fans tend to fuck up is if the WWE wants to listen to their fans 100% and then feed into the fact that, she is a crowd favorite. But I think Roxanne should get the push. I won't be mad if Jade wins either. I like Jade Cargill. I think she's an amazing talent. But if I have to pick, Roxanne overall, I think is not only is she great in the ring, but she's eye candy. Oh, Jade is too, though.
Yeah, no, I think there's multiple ways that these matches can play out, which is intriguing because we don't usually there are clear cut winners, but with this, I think there could be a few different ways. But yeah, unfortunately, for any Asuka fans who are watching, yeah, it's not the right time.
Well, another reason why I don't feel Jade is going to take it is I don't know how close to 100% she actually is. Like I mentioned earlier, she is a lot smaller than she used to be. Now, I don't know if that was a choice on her part or if that was because of injury. She's not able to, stay in the shape that she originally was in. So if she is still relatively hurt, I don't see her getting a push. They're probably just having her there that way she can still be, she's not forgotten. But I don't think she's going to, if she's still injured, I don't think they're going to give her a push because they don't want to like overexert her. So that's another reason why I'm kind of also leaning more towards Roxanne. So with that being said, you might have to look this up, but with the King of the Ring finals, I think we're going to have maybe Cody and Jay fight, and it might even be at SmackDown because I have Orton, Jay, and Cody for this. But knowing that the other one was, so I'm thinking the semifinals is one of those two. I don't know if you can look that up real quick or.
Yep, let me look that up, bro. Randy Orton is confirmed to be in the match. He is confirmed that he is going to the finals. Let's see. So yeah, that Cody Rhodes versus Jey Uso will also happen on Raw later today.
Oh, so it is on Raw too. Okay, so with that being said, who are you going to take, Cody or Jay?
So all right, so for this one, I'll be honest. I'm not always a fan of having champions in like these like tournaments and stuff. To me, I think they should be doing other things. It's like, why have a champ in the Royal Rumble? That's kind of how I view these kind of things. So, with that being said,
It tarnishes their power. Like if we're looking at power ratings, like the video game, you're putting a 98 overall in a ring with like a 75. There's no point because if that 75 wins, it takes away all the accolades that made that person that 98 overall.
yeah, and I feel like this one they're in a tough spot. I don't think they want Cody to necessarily lose or Jay to lose because they're both champs. So if you both lose, then it's kind of like, why? And I think they want to save Randy versus Cody for another time because that, I don't know if you remember back like 2009 that Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes were in a faction back then. So called Legacy. So I don't know if they want to save that for what I think that would be a big match of Randy versus Cody. That would be for like the belt or something, not like a match that they're just kind of happening on, a Night of Champions or something.
Yeah, but can you really see Jay beating Cody?
No, that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. I don't think Jay is gonna, lose to Cody, but it's kind of like, I don't know. They're both like former champs in this, that they recently lost their belts, somewhat, recently. So it's like, why are they in this kind of thing? And that's where I'm trying to wrap my head around. And to me, if one beats the other, then it's going to devalue the other one for either.
Yep.
Like Jay, I think they're trying to push and build up, and Cody is Cody. So it's like, you're not in a good spot for having either of these guys lose.
Yep.
With that being said, I think Cody's going to win, and I would love Randy Orton to win. I'm a huge Randy Orton fan. I want him to win. I think it'd be cool because I don't believe, and maybe I have to look this up or if someone wants to correct me, I don't think he's ever been King of the Ring, and I think that'd be really cool.
I agree with almost everything. Actually, everything you said, I agree with. It's a lose-lose for both. You have both kind of, again, I don't want to say they're on losing streaks, but they both lost their belt. And then you have Jay, who they built up from this crazy back and forth with Gunther. Somebody who I really like. I think Gunther is this generation's William Regal. I really like what Gunther is doing. I like how they're kind of showing Gunther off. Um, so, and with that being said, the only reason why Jay lost, the way that they kind of painted this out was that Jay lost because he was spreading himself too thin. I don't know if you saw that promo where Gunther was basically telling him that, like, the reason why you're not a good champion is because you don't do champion things, and that's think for yourself and do for yourself. You want to try to help everybody else out and be this like community champion, and you're weighing yourself, you're spreading yourself too thin and not focusing on the fact that you still have to face me, and that's why he lost. So you have this build up to this wrestler who has gone through all these trials and tribulations and has overcome. And the only reason why he lost, the way they want us to believe the way he lost, was because he was spreading himself too thin. And now you're going against somebody who finished his story and has been basically the Captain fucking America of WWE. It's a lose-lose for both. And yeah, like I completely agree. I'm just basically saying what you said. But yeah, I agree. To cut this short, I don't see Jay winning this. I don't see Jay beating Cody. If anything, I actually think Gunther's going to come out and add salt to the wounds and maybe be the reason why Cody wins. I feel like that's the only out, so you don't get a solid, clear 1, 2, 3. So that way Cody winning doesn't really tarnish Jay. It's more of like, this motherfucker lost because Gunther. You know what I mean? There has to be some type of interruption that is going to cause Jay to lose. I don't see Jay beating Cody unless somebody comes out and I don't watch SmackDown much, so I don't really know who Cody's beefing with at this point, other than Cena, maybe Logan Paul. But the only one that makes sense is Gunther coming out, fucking over Jay, and then you get a Cody versus Randy. If we're going to what you were saying, holding off, it could be the other way around where you get a John Cena or somebody comes out, interrupts Cody, and that's how Jay wins. But I don't see a clear cut 1, 2, 3. And then, of course, when it comes down to Orton, I'm the same. Orton's another one in my top 5, and I want him to win King of the Ring.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of it's. I wish they would have done the bracket.
That one.
Yeah, I just wish they would have done the bracket a little bit differently and not include, like, I know they want the star power in the bracket, but there's some people, like, if you keep throwing them in everything, then like it's like, well, if they lose this, then that's a problem. If they win this, it's a problem. So it's like, don't do it.
Yep. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one for sure. And so now we're going to move on to the last one, which is going to be the Undisputed WWE Championship. And I got to be honest, man, not really excited for this one, but it's John Cena versus Punk. And I know I'm going to get hate for that because a lot of people are excited about this match. Again, I wasn't really a WWE fan during the height of these two. So I'm actually going to make my prediction for you, or not for you, but for you. And then I'm going to let you kind of close it out since this is the last one. But I'm going to say Cena is going to win. I don't see Punk beating Cena. And again, this goes back to what I said earlier. I think the only person that is going to be able to beat Cena that makes sense is Ron Killings. It just, the way that they are structuring the story right now, I feel like he's the only one. I don't see Punk winning. I would prefer Punk to win over Cena, but I will say after that fucking beautiful promo scene, I don't like Cena, but that promo that he cut, I don't know if you saw it, where he puts CM Punk through the table and then he sits on the turnbuckle. That fucking promo was fucking awesome. I like heel Cena. I like when he does promos like that. But other than that, yeah, I think Cena's going to take the W. Punk's going to cry like a little bitch. We're going to get a couple weeks of him complaining and whining and bitching, moaning and groaning. And then hopefully during that, we're going to get a little bit of Ron Killings running out and beating up Cena because I've been enjoying the fuck out of that. And I pass the mic to you.
All right, so for anyone who did not watch or, we're not around for when Punk was facing John Cena back in Money in the Bank 2011. So that was the infamous match where Punk's contract was up, in storyline. and he said he's not resigning. He's going to take the belt and leave. And so he did win that match, and he took the WWE Championship, and he left. And with that, he was gone for like 2 weeks or something, and they're like, yeah, he's not champ anymore. We're gonna hold a tournament to crown a new WWE champion. John Cena won that tournament. So then they had the next pay-per-view, which I don't remember the name of it, but at the next pay-per-view is John Cena versus CM Punk for the belt. So that's kind of a brief overview of their feud from back in 2011. And again, it's on Peacock. If you ever want to watch the full thing, go for it. All right, so now that we're caught up, so this time, again, as we kind of talked about and alluded to earlier, and what you kind of said, Cena he's not losing this. He's not losing this. It's he's the way the storyline's been working and with everything. And again, like Punk kind of just showed up. Like, I don't know, how do you earn this title match? Like, I don't even know, but yeah. So I think with that, since there's really no heat to this other than their feud from 15 years ago, that's the only thing that like is carrying it. I think it's still going to be a good match. I think they have good chemistry together. And I liked, John Cena's promo was fantastic. I just the way his character work, and again, like people might not like him because he's bad guy Cena or whatever. And I like it. I'm appreciating all of this. I'm a huge fan. So, but with that, I think they're kind of leading on nostalgia of like, oh, you remember this match from 15 years ago? Okay, we're gonna do it again. Instead of like building it up properly. I think they're trying to figure out Cena's end game right now with how he's going to lose it. So they're having these matches like him versus R-Truth at Saturday Night's Main Event and him versus Punk at Night of Champions. They're throwing these matches in. I'm sure Cena has some say of who he's facing or whatever, with his last couple matches as the months kind of wind down. I'm sure he's got like, hey, I want to face this guy. I want to face Punk one more time or whatever. So that could be what's going on here too. But yeah, I just don't see Punk winning this. And I don't think it would make any sense if he did win it.
Yeah. The more we kind of talk about Cena and kind of thinking about the reign that he has right now, I'm leaning more towards him actually walking away with the belt, because you got to think of who he's been defending it against. It's guys he had feuds with in the past, and he's basically kind of sealing the deal of like, I beat you, I beat you, I beat you. They're just giving him win after win of these big dudes, to the point where you're like, well, who the fuck is gonna beat him then? Unless you bring fucking Brock Lesnar back, which is probably not gonna fucking happen.
That's not gonna happen.
That's one of the reasons why I feel like R-Truth is the only one that can possibly do it, because again, you had this whole storyline with R-Truth being like, oh, I looked up to John Cena. He's been my hero since I was a kid, even though he's fucking older than John Cena. And you have all this thing, and now R-Truth is pretty much dead, and you got Ron Killings now. It's the only thing that makes sense. So I feel like CM Punk is gonna fall just like Randy Orton did, and anybody else that they put in front of him is going to be somebody from the past. We're basically just this tour, this farewell tour of John Cena is more of like, hey, I'm taking you through an anthology of all the people that I wrestled in the past, and I'm going back and I'm just beating them all. It's almost kind of like in the same vein of when Randy Orton was the Legend Killer. He was going and beating legends. It's kind of what John Cena's doing. He's solidifying his name, as even though he's a heel right now, he's solidifying that name, and he's going to ultimately walk away with that belt and beat everybody in his path that he had rivalries with back in the day, or he's going to finally be stopped by somebody that we're not going to see and realize and be like, oh shit,
Yeah, but I think even with bringing back someone who would make sense, who could beat him, I think the it's limited of who you would pick. Brock Lesnar's probably not coming back. They got Goldberg versus Gunther coming up at a match at some point.
I'm not excited about that.
Yeah. So like and Goldberg versus Cena wouldn't make any sense instead of just doing it for fun. Undertaker's retired. Kurt Angle's retired. The people who I think could beat John Cena, they're retired. He's like the last of that kind of generation. Him and Orton, basically.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because WWE is kind of in this weird moment right now where they're in the process of building those very champions. So nobody is really at that point right now where you can like officially point to and be like, that's the guy who's going to beat him.
Yeah.
Like, and the
I
only other, Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, like, and anyone who's on the current roster, like Roman, that would be kind of a dud. Kind of the people just wouldn't feel, that would, not a good way to go. Cody, same thing. I think, and like, some people who I think might be cool, like, AJ Styles or Kevin Owens or something like that. It wouldn't make any sense for the storyline. And you think Kevin Owens or AJ Styles is going to beat John Cena right now? No.
And the only other one would be Seth, and it's kind of like, I wouldn't be excited for that. Like Seth, they're like, let that story marinate, let that grow. Like the Cena and Seth don't need a cross pass right now. Like those are two separate kind of things going on right now. They have kind of similar issues with the company as far as like the way they cut their promos. But yeah, like I honestly think it's going to be Ron Killings, and if it's not going to be Ron Killings, it's literally going to be John Cena taking the tour of just burying everyone that he crossed paths with throughout his career. This is just a showcase to the newer generation of like these matches were the highlights of John Cena back in the day. You're too young to know. So here, we're going to give you the old man versions of all of these.
Yeah. And he's still going to win.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just don't think it's going to be, again, there's just nobody who comes to mind who is still able to wrestle, who is still active on the roster or could be brought back that makes sense to beat John Cena. Because, the guys who I mentioned, Angle and Taker, no way that they're going to be wrestling again. Could I see them beating John Cena maybe 10 years ago? So, stuff like that. And even more recently, you think Dolph Ziggler is going to come back and beat John Cena? No. Like, again, no offense to Dolph Ziggler, but, stuff like that. Even people from his past that are still active in wrestling, maybe not in WWE, like Zack Ryder or Matt Cardona. Now, as he's known now. Again, would it be cool for him to have a match? Yeah, but no way he's gonna lose it. There's
no
not in a
build-up
good
to
spot.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there's no build up for it.
exactly. They're just not in a good spot right now. That again, I mean, but will WWE actually let him like retire with the belt? Like they tease that with almost every storyline, but then they never follow through with it. I don't know if you've kind of noticed that. So WWE's not going to do that. I mean, I wish. I really want it to happen personally, and I hope they do. But it's going to be like a Roman Reigns or a Cody Rhodes who's going to beat John Cena, and everyone's going to be not happy. Like I feel that it's too predictable, and unfortunately, that might be where they're heading with it.
Well, we'll see, man. Like I said, patience. Let everything kind of unfold as we go, and then we will be right here at the Wrestling Collective to cover it when it happens. So I want to say thank you, Matt, for coming and talking with me with wrestling. I love sitting down with you, man. It's always fun. And before we go, please let everybody know where they can find you outside of the Wrestling Collective.
So if you liked any of my insight and you didn't cancel me by now, I am the host of Super Cool Radio. We're also on YouTube at Super Cool Radio. Really easy to find. I upload weekly interviews and different, forms of content. You get to hear my takes on the music industry and some album reviews and some different things that will be coming to the Super Cool Radio channel very soon. So if you are on YouTube, if you're watching this, head over there, drop a subscribe. It helps out so much. I'm preparing for Motoblot at the time of this release. So there's going to be more content from in-person events coming very soon. Got some blogs coming from there as well. So be on the lookout for all of that. If you are on social media, at Supercool Radio SB on Facebook and Instagram. Obviously, we got some reels on there, some fun stuff. So really, that's the greatest place to go. So if you can, drop a follow, drop a subscribe. It just helps out so much. Plus, you get to see more of me. Who doesn't want that?
Yeah. All right, man. And for me, I got way too much shit to post, so I'm just gonna give you to the main one that I push the most, and that is a Brutal Block. If you are a fan of metal, then head on over to Rumble and check out Brutal Block. But we spell Brutal BROOTAL. Block, and come check it out. We do 13 new bands every episode, and we put them out there. They're underground bands, and we put them out there with the hopes that you like them enough to add to your own personal playlist. So head on over there, become a minion, join us in that virtual pit, and have a lot of fun, man. We don't gatekeep bands at all. We don't like gatekeepers. We are just a middle community of positive vibes and awesome heavy music. But other than that, man, Matthew, like I said, it's been great, man. We will be back with another Wrestling Collective once this pay-per-view is over. We will be covering Night of Champions after it happens and see where we're at with our predictions, see if we were right, see if we were wrong, and we will cover some more wrestling topics here on the Wrestling Collective. So hit that subscribe button, hit a like, share with your friends that are also wrestling fans, and either they're going to enjoy us or they're going to hate us, but either way, let's get their eyes on our product because we have a lot planned coming in the future, and we are just trying to build an awesome wrestling community of fun. And yeah, we want to hear what you have to say. So again, leave a comment, let us know how you like the show. Matt, until next time, have a great one, man, and be safe.